Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual slavery.
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everybody, to the 464th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. With us today, Steve Wellings, Ozzie Smith, Andy Patterson. A thank you to everyone listening on all the platforms, be it on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, etc. Go ahead and give us out those ratings. We appreciate it. I'm glad to say that we are almost up to 100 5-star ratings on Spotify. Thank you so much for that from the fans. And I come to find out, Steve, we have the 413th most listened to global sports-related podcast.
413th. Yeah, we were 412 before. We're going down, man. This is bad news.
Fuck. Well, that's not good at all. Who is that son of... I need to find out who the son of a bitch who jumped us is. You know, we can take care of that. We can take care of that.
Global, you say, yeah? Global. My God.
Yeah, Imagine. It's frightening. It's frightening.
It is frightening.
I'll tell you what else is frightening. The incredible abilities that Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez continues to have in the later stages of his career. Throwing over 1,000 punches, getting hit with only 11% of them, absolutely dominating Julio Cesar Martinez, taking years off of his career in my estimation, because that was a vile beatdown, which didn't need to go on that long. But Andy, for me, it was incredible. His footwork was great. He didn't look any different than he did 10 years ago. And it was probably his tightest defensive performance in at least 5 years.
Yeah, well, first I want to mention the scorecards, seeing how we were all kind of outraged last week. And I need to say, some of those cards last night were a wee bit too close for my liking. As you say, that was a beatdown. I thought Gonzalez won it wide. If you want to give Martinez a round, I'd probably had it 119, 109 for Gonzalez. You know, Martinez showed a lot of heart, guts, took a hell of a beating though. Pretty much a one-sided schooling, really. But say credit to Martinez, he's tough. You know, in terms of ability, though, they were miles and miles apart. You know, if you look at Martinez's past fights, he's always on the kind of front foot. He's always aggressive. Pretty much for the first round in that, he learned to respect Gonzalez pretty quickly, I think. I would probably say maybe he's. I still don't think he's the fighter of what he was. You need to remember he's 35 and what is it? June, July time. You know, he's probably lost a wee bit of a step in that, maybe a wee bit of his stamina, looking a wee bit kind of pudgy. Maybe his timing's no always that, but I tell you what, man, when he does get it all knocked down in that, he was absolutely fantastic. He was finding holes. He was making Martinez throw more feints than punches. It was just. I don't want to go too bad because I've been seeing some comments saying that Martinez got exposed, so it's not all that. He failed to stop a flyweight, this type of thing, and that. Look, at the end of the day, he outworked a younger man, higher work rate, punch volume and accuracy was just tremendous. Your problem is you just don't get to see Gonzalez beat up like Mexican fighters like that, So punch choice, combos, placements, the balance, the footwork, hitting the stomach early in the fight, just kind of slowing down Martinez and that as well, who I think after 6 rounds was complaining that he'd be feeling tired, probably because of the bad weight cut or whatever the fucking situation happened there, complaining about sore hands. I think it was at the 11th or 12th, I think it was just before the 11th or the 12th round, they heard his corner saying, look, you've got to be ready to die here. I mean, what the fuck, man? Guys just took a beating for the best part of 10 rounds, 11 rounds, whatever it was.
It came out of nowhere as well, Andy, because they were
I
telling
know.
him before, like, you're doing okay, keep going, and then all of a sudden, you're going to have to die here, son.
Fucking, honestly. Round 6, I can remember specifically Gonzalez laying it really heavy weather on him. I think I remember it was a left uppercut, possibly, maybe even jolted him so bad that he almost went down. Left hooks, as I say, is the body punching and that. Look, Gonzalez deserves all the accolades for last night. As I say, 35-year-old taking on. Okay, the guy's come up. Was it 6 weeks' notice? He come up in weight or whatever and that. But he's younger, he's fresher, he's meant to be hungrier and that. He talked all that smack. Been given the benefit of doubt with PED charges and that in the past and that as well. And he, in the end, he just got he's just got some credits of CTEs there last night, because that was a heavy beating, and his corner were an absolute disgrace. He should have pulled him out earlier than that. And I agree with you. His career will probably, in the next couple of years, remember we used to talk about Jarrett Hurd, for example. You know, he uses that size and his weight. His prime's going to be very short because of the manner of what he fought. You know, he went off the cliff pretty quick. I think it'll be the same with Martinez. Gonzalez, on the other hand, in that, as I say, he's not the same fighter in that, honestly, but he is still levels apart what's available in the game just now. And that maybe outside Estrada or Inoue and that. Eddie's talking about a potential fight with Bam Rodriguez, which, considering Rodriguez, the way man and what he beat Quadras and that, sign me up for it. And if Gonzalez beats him, or Inoue, for example, and that, I mean, just ship him over to.
Oh, he's not beating the monster. I thought that was a step too far when they said that.
But can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine it? I mean, we all expected Danae to get wiped out of Inoue. You know, Gonzalez he isn't anything what Inoue's faced before. He's just intelligence, as I say, the footwork, the balance, the punching ability. Once he gets his timing done, he is absolutely hard to beat. The only thing that's probably going to go against him possibly is maybe the lack of power. Not so much lack of power. You know what I mean? Is he's no hitting the guys. He's no sparking them like he used to. As a light flyweight and a flyweight, for example, and that, but he still hits hard enough to get your respect. Look at the state of Martinez's face here last night, badly swollen. Could have been a mercy stoppage. Yeah. So
that fight shouldn't have gone. That fight shouldn't have gone past the 10th. I thought it was pretty meaningless after that, and he was just getting pasted.
Yeah. So ship off if you're in your pound for pound lists and just put Gonzalez back in anywhere in the top 10 and send an apology his way as well if you backed against him and that. So fair play to Choco. He rides on, 35, as I say, in flyweight years. That's about 85-year-old, by the way. So fucking fair play to the guy.
Yeah, it's absolutely tremendous. He looked exceptional last night. I'll tell you what, Oz, the one fight that they said that I liked, and I preferred at 118 over 115, no matter what he says he can make, is Donaire against Chocolatito.
Mm-hmm.
I think that at 118 pounds is a good fight where there is no loser regardless of what the record shows. That's a high-quality match for the fans.
Absolutely. How many times do we always say on this podcast that one defeat doesn't like highlight, your career. It doesn't make your career a win can. But I think the stage that both fighters they are in their career, it's just an excellent fight, and it can't not produce the goods. I would say that it certainly favours Donaire being at 118. Gonzalez putting on. I mean, what was he last night? Was it 150 under about 114? So he'd be putting on 4 pounds there. But it's a fight I definitely want to see. I thought he was excellent last night, and it's not a surprise really. I missed the preview of this fight last week because I jumped on late. But I'd spoken to a few people prior to it, and I said that I actually think Martinez is quite limited in what he is. I think he burst onto the scene, where he absolutely blitzed Charlie Edwards, but then tossed that win away, and then he banged out Christopher Rosales. But then, Jay Harris had a decent fight with him, and Harris won rounds off him. I thought that said a lot then that, with all due respect to J. Harris, he's a really good fighter around probably European level fringe world. But I thought, it was quite close, and Harris won rounds of him, and he showed he could be outboxed. And he's had a bit of a weird career, really. I mean, who was the fight that he pulled out with, like 2 days prior, or something like that? And then he had that no contest with McWilliams Arroyo, and then he's gone up to, to fight Gonzalez, completely botched the weight, came in overweight, and was just completely outclassed. And we always say, a boxer beats a puncher, and it was proven again last night. I thought Gonzalez was excellent. I agree with Andy. I think I gave, I thought the cards, I thought they were dire, really. I think I gave Martinez one round. It was more probably out of sympathy, more than him actually comfortably winning it. I think it was like the fifth or something like that.
He might have won the first, I think. I think he was more active in the first for some reason and landed a couple, but it was touch and go trying to find anything afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. This isn't like, the Catterall Taylor fight last week. This is one where you're trying to find to give Martinez a round at all, like I said, more just through sympathy. But he was completely outclassed. I think he's in a bit of a precarious situation, Martinez, actually, because, there was talk that he's going to go back down to flyweight. Well, good luck on that. He's just botched coming into Superfly. We're not talking by a few ounces either, but by about 2.5 pounds, which is, I would say, these little weights, 2.5 pounds, 2 pounds is huge. To get extra weight off is massive. So he's clearly got problems, in terms of making weight. He needs to sort that out if he wants to do anything more, more in boxing, because people aren't going to be willing to fight him if he's just going to, crash the weight and come in over the agreed weights all the time. As for Gonzalez, I mean, he has absolutely nothing left to prove whatsoever. I keep seeing, I saw an awful take last night that, he was in a war, and I thought he absolutely toyed with him. It was more of a sparring session more than anything. I felt he worked Martinez out probably after 1 or 2 rounds, and it was just, he was on autopilot. It was comfortable for him. I've no real interest in seeing, like the Rungvisai or the Estrada fight. I think the Donaire fight would be excellent. And you know what? It'd be a massive ask, but I'd love to see the Inoue fight as well, because he may well end up getting, potentially knocked out, but I still think he caused Inoue problems. He has got that ability and the quality to certainly go up and cause problems. I wouldn't see Inoue blasting him out, but I think the Donaire fight would be excellent. And, this guy, Gonzalez, I think it's fair to say he really is an all-time great. These fighters at the lower weights, the small weights, don't always get the recognition, but I think this is a fighter that certainly should get the recognition for what he's done in the sport, because he is a fantastic talent.
He's one of the top 5 fighters that was below featherweight. I obviously don't have a list handy, but I'm struggling. You're putting him in there with, if you're going below featherweight, fighters like, Carvajal, and it's such a narrow class, because it's almost hard to rate those fighters because they've never gotten the acknowledgement throughout history as they're getting today, which is kind of cool to be alive to see. That the smaller fighters are really getting that highlight like they haven't in years past.
See, back in the day, you never really got a lot of unification done at those weights. Now you had guys like maybe like Pongslot for Thailand who make something ridiculous like 12 defenses, a WBC title, and make mandatory defenses, that type of thing. It's really been Gonzalez really over the last 5-6 years. It's really brought it mainstream. You mentioned Carvajal, obviously the big money fight and that, who was kind of, what was that, mid-90s I think it was. But as I say, it's taken this long. It took Chocolatito going on to HBO just before their death and that to kind of really bring these guys forward. Just look at the fights we've had with Gonzalez and Quadras and Rungvisai and Estrada and Gonzalez. These guys have fought something like, 9-10 times over four bodies now. It's fucking incredible.
It's been a tremendous era, and it's a shame that it's coming to an end. And Steve, I'll tell you, one of the reasons I like that Donaire fight is because I think when you take an honest look at resumes and what they've done below featherweight, I'd say in the last 25 years, those two are the guys.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a swan song between them. I hadn't considered Donaire actually, but I suppose it makes as much sense as anything else. But see, last night I thought Gonzalez was just terrific, man. He got into that rhythm and into the groove, and his head was moving, his feet were moving. He was slipping and countering like the Chocolatito of old. And all of a sudden, fights like Donaire and these other guys, maybe Inoue a step too far, they've become more realistic. Because I was one of the people who wrote him off pretty much around the Rungvisai fights and thought that he was maybe done. His time had come too late. HBO, as Andy mentioned, brought him in, and it had just slipped him by. But he's looking as good as ever. He's such a sublime talent, and I know it's that hardcore helmet position to appreciate fighters like Gonzalez. You've got to shit on them now, you see, and say that they're not as good as other people think. But I was saying to a friend of the pod, Dominic, earlier, actually, he's at the point now where he's so experienced, he's so mature, it all just flows so naturally. Everything Gonzalez does is just second nature. From the head movement, the foot movement, the punching in and out, going southpaw. He can clearly dig as well. And Martinez, he took his digs, but he was just reduced to being a one-dimensional puncher. He was struggling at the weight. We knew that. He had nothing of substance to offer. His corner seemed a bit lost. I picked up on the comments Andy said as well. He was complaining around the 8th or 9th round of being tired, having sore hands, maybe getting his excuses in early. He was extremely tough, though, took his blows, but he was barely second best in a two-horse race. Couple of final things I'll say as well. I echo the scoring sentiments by the guys. Bellew of the week for the scorecard by Max DeLuca. That is an under-the-radar shit scorecard, I think, 116, 112. If you can find 4 rounds to the loser after a fight like that, then a slightly more competitive fight, suddenly, he's a couple of rounds away from a draw territory. That was not good scoring at all. I thought he had it way too close. After the first round, it was pretty much one-way traffic. Don't know what he was seeing. Finally, shout out to DAZN in case I forget to mention it. We shit on him, me as much as anybody else. It was a great card. Christian Churchy have been critical of his matchmaking. I think it was either him or Kevin Rooney who did this one, but whichever matchmaker was responsible, they matched the whole card up pretty well, so fair play to them. But as for Gonzalez, onwards and upwards, nearly 35. Just appreciate these talents while they're around. I know it's a cliche and a glib thing to say, but I think it just flows so naturally. That's the thing, the head movement, the foot movement. You don't learn that overnight. This is a master of his craft at his absolute peak. So you got to enjoy these fighters while they're about.
Oh, they're a blessing. It's rare talent, and I really appreciate it. Andy, one last thing before we move on. It seems like the people who have given Gonzalez trouble are the people who are willing to stand and throw with him. The people who have the ability to kind of hold their ground and pivot more than move, trying to take that smaller step to stay within his big quick jumps, turning those corners. So considering that, who do you think is in the pipeline that can lay out that game plan? Like I said, I think Inoue can definitely stand with him, throws punches straight as a die, and could easily catch him down the middle with something.
Could also catch him with that left hook as well. That's his money shot. Inoue's, who, as I said, I think Inoue as well can be caught static. I think he's kind of a wee bit kind of chin in the air a wee bit. Maybe goes back in straight lines as a kind of matter of his defence or whatever. I was going to mention Rungvisai because obviously that was the only guy really to cause Gonzalez severe problems. As I say, with his size, his power, just the way he kind of fights. He doesn't even fight with a jab. He just kind of like throws punches and that's it. Knocked him out, obviously badly knocked him out. But you wonder as well how much of that was actually down to the fact that Gonzalez's long-term trainer had actually died on him. And mentally, where was he at that point? Because he said a bit of renaissance after a few years, maybe getting over it, whatever. And that. Obviously, I think the Estrada fight is just an opponent. I think those two styles gel. Pretty much similar fighters, actually. So I just think if they fought each time in that, I think you're always going to have a close competitive fight. It's going to be kind of arguable on the scorecard each way. So there's that one. Inoue, as it says, that this one really does intrigue me even to this point because for as long as this podcast has been going, I can remember going back in the day with Alex Morris saying to him, look, I really fancy Inoue. This was before Inoue was like the monster at bantamweight that he became in that Inoue would probably beat Gonzalez. Obviously, as time goes past, and we didn't get the fight made, and if it suddenly gets popped at the fire, you think, oh, okay, Inoue. But I always go back to the fact that Donaire gave him severe problems. You keep writing Donaire off as that as well, but you just say to yourself, he just seems to be getting better as well, making the weight comfortably. It seems power still there. Doesn't seem to be kind of fading at any time soon. So probably either Inoue or Donaire or Estrada's probably his next 3 toughest fights. As I mentioned, Eddie was mentioned Jesse Rodriguez there last night. I would love to see that fight as well. Rodriguez is, he's my pick for the future at the lower weight classes. I was thinking to myself, maybe it's too soon for him. But, after remembering what he did the quad last night, yeah, get the fucking fight made. If they're good enough, if they're good enough, they're old enough, get them in, get the fights made. I don't know who else we could maybe say. And Cajas got dropped off. Who else? Ioka. I think Ioka's over the hill now at this point. Inoue or Gonzalez both beat him. So yeah, you're probably looking at flyweights coming up, but I don't really see many coming up in weight to kind of give them much a challenge at this point. So yeah, so Inoue, Donaire or Estrada, mate.
Sonny Edwards would fight him.
Yeah, yeah, sure he would,
God, it'd be interesting watching Gonzalez cut off the ring around him because Edwards runs that perimeter real fucking well.
Yeah, no,
talented man, very good fighter, mate.
Yeah, and he's going to have a problem trying to get Edwards to kind of, like as you say, if you get a fighter to stand in front of Chocolatito, who's not so much holding his feet all the time in that, but he looks tremendous. But if you go to try and hunt, as Ozzy says, hunt him down over the ring and that, he's going to have to make every moment count. So it means he has to work that body,
I think it'd be an interesting fight, actually. That Edwards is good enough, mate. The way. I mean, I know, fair enough. Like Mutalani was, I don't want to say over the hill because I think that's disrespectful to Edwards' win, but he was certainly, aging. But the way he dismantled him and just took him to pieces, and it was an absolute schooling in the end.
Mm-hmm.
He's got skills, Sonny Edwards, like you said. He's very, very difficult. And I think, the bigger the name, the better performance you get as well. I'd be interested to see it. He's got balls, Sonny Edwards. He was willing to fly over and fight Gonzalez, at 24 hours notice. Bags packed, ready to go. And he was being deadly serious because he admits, may get beat, but, in these small weights.
Don't get a chance of this so often, especially against a guy that guy.
Opportunities are massive. Absolutely. And Edwards is the one, by the way, that, as soon as he saw Martinez fight, and everyone was passing him off as, this like road killer type of thing, he wanted to fight him. I actually think a win. Yeah, I actually think a win for Edwards now, but since he was absolutely battered last night by Gonzalez, probably tarnishes a little bit, really. Because I don't see him
be the same again. He's never going to be the same again. That fight fucked him up.
He needs to get his situation in order. As Ozzy mentioned about the weight and that as well. Is if he can't make 112, he's fucked. If he can't make 115, he's double fucked because he can't last at 118, mate. As I say, with his style of fighting and that, his prime is going to be very limited. If you factor in like say Chocolatito, 10, 15 years in the sport, top of his game for so long and that, it just shows you that technique will always beat brain and brawn. By the way,
I agree.
Bit of a Lewis Neri vibe, maybe, weight, drugs, all this type of stuff going on.
I think he missed the weight on purpose. I think, considering there was no title
he lost 50
on the
grand
line,
his muscle, mate, as a result of it.
But if he gets a win over Gonzalez, he's a name after that.
What is the point of coming in overweight and deciding to say, I'm just going to toss away 50 grand?
I think he was trying to outman him and try to find every advantage he could.
Matty, I don't know, though, because he went away and tried for 2 hours to try and shift some weight. Came back and he'd lost about 6 ounces. Why put yourself through that? I think the one thing they did is so that he couldn't put any more realistically more weight on is they put a clause where he couldn't weigh more than 125 pounds, before going into the ring, something like that anyway. Otherwise the fight was cancelled, but I'm not sure if he intentionally, I just think he's a moron and can't do the weight right. I think he's blown the weight previously before as well. It's odd, really, when he's part. Eddie Reynoso trains him, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Well, he did anyway.
Oddly, yeah, he's part of that gym, which is so switched on, and has got things down to a T. Yeah, weight seems to be a massive issue for him. Whether he's he's not disciplined out a bit, he's just he claims he's eating this. It could be small things, particularly at those lower weights, and trying to get those extra few pounds off is clearly a problem for him. And as Andy says, if he's going to be now operating at bantamweight, because he can't make Superfly. Bear in mind, Eddie Ernie's promoter was saying that he'll go back down to 112. Would you honestly see him taking off £6 after seeing that? I can't see it personally at all. Yeah, he might be able to make Superfly, but he's going to have to be disciplined because Andy's right. If he's going to go in against these, bigger guys at bantamweight with his style, his peak is going to last, 12, 18 months at best?
His next fight, possibly.
Yeah, you're right. It could be the next fight, yeah, easily.
Here, boys, we're talking about a next fight for Gonzalez. I noticed on Twitter a few people have tagged me in here. Jim Carras said, who do you want to see Chocolatito fight next? And Prince Patel has put his name in the hat and says, I'm WBO number 4, IBF number 9, WBA number 13. No reason why I should get a chance. Well, he's right about that. There's no reason he should get a chance.
Yeah. He's in the world rankings, so technically he's correct, yeah. But come on. Yeah, come on. Really, that would be an absolute massacre. That
could you see Gonzalez going to Africa for that fight?
Needs to beat Innocent Everest first.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I was going to say,
he's been to Africa not all the time, isn't he?
Is he going over to Africa? I thought he was still conquering the light of everybody in what's it called, the Budapest Fight Club and stuff like that. And what was that other guy you were? Oh, mate, he's won more belts than I think the majority of people in boxing. He's got all sorts of titles around his.
WB Euro, IBF Continental, IBF International. Oh, mate, they're bobbles and fucking.
I think if Gonzalez is going to fight Patel, he needs a good warm up fight against one of Steve's favourite fighters, Idi Kayumba. I think if he can dispatch of Kayumba like Patel did, then we're talking about a Patel Gonzalez fight. Yeah, absolutely.
Idi Kayumba. What about John Chua?
John
Chua, yeah. John Chua, who I think fought on a Frank Warren show last time, and to try and make weight so he wasn't under the minimum, he was eating full English breakfasts in the morning so he could put weight on so he wouldn't be too light to actually fall the way in.
I told you, Ozzy, before, my nephew caught John Chua in action and he questioned whether this was real boxing I was watching.
Some unreal, I don't know where they pluck him from, the likes of Idi Kayumba and John Chua. My God. And just to think the fighters who they've beaten as well, they must be awful.
I'll tell you what's not awful.
Sorry, there's an interesting take I just seen on the YouTube chat there, is that Yummy Yappy says Sonny Edwards makes Choco look old and frustrates him with his movement. You could possibly see it, because you maybe see Sonny actually nicking that decision in that fight.
Depends where the fight is. If that's somewhere where Hispanic fans are, he's not going to get the crowd reactions he needs to win that fight. But what is a win? Chris Burns thrown in 179 says, Joe Burns, me and you on the hard road. Well, there you go. Maybe we will see Joe in here as well later. I'll tell you what I really enjoyed yesterday, though, Steve, which was an absolute blast, was the 3 rounds that Mauricio Lara and Emilio Sanchez went to war for. That 3rd round, I'm calling that a round of the year contender. Lara flattening him on his ass with the referee falling over Sanchez to save him right at the bell. Man, it was 9 minutes of absolute entertainment, war, violence. I enjoyed the shit out of this one.
Yeah, it was a good fight. It caught me by surprise, which it probably shouldn't have done, because obviously we've seen Lara before on British soil against Josh Warrington. We know what he brings to the table. He's not afraid to throw a few wild punches. Some people might look at this after he blew out after the 2nd round. He looked like he took a few body shots, started to wear down. Maybe his opponent, wasn't it Sanchez, was going to come back into things. Could have said, look, I told you Lara would have lost to Warrington if the fight would have gone on. But Lara took that out of the equation and got the job done. I like Sergio Mora's comment about Sanchez. Said that when he's one loss before this fight, was a knockout loss to a guy called Lagos, and he was blaming the weight cut, and Mora was like, well, I think it was the right hands Lagos was landing, that was a problem as well. And once Lara got that right hand going, he was all over the place. As you said, the referee was slipping about. Bit of a slippery canvas. Chocolatito went down later on as well, but nothing wrong with Lara's power. He's going to be fun for as long as we see him. He's a danger man. People aren't going to give him an opportunity. Warrington's fighting Kiko Martinez. Doubt they'll want anything of Lara again. He's just going to be a fun fighter. Big puncher, gasses out, doesn't like it to the body. Get him in against somebody decent and let the bombs fly again. Shout out to the matchmakers. Wasn't aware of Sanchez. Maybe I was. Who knows? These guys sometimes all merge into one for me, but real fun fight. Good one to get the crowd up for as well. Ready for the main event. So, yeah, more Mauricio Lara for me, please. Glad Eddie's giving him another opportunity.
Amen to that one. Andy, I saw this comment thrown in somewhere yesterday. I know, God, promotional stuff and all that, odds of it not happening very high, but wouldn't Lara versus Navarrete be a fucking great war?
Navarrete still at 126?
Yeah.
Is he still there, right?
Yeah, he just got there.
Yeah, I suppose so. Navarrete's quite tall for her. So, yeah, look, if we could get it made, then yeah, but sadly, it's just not going to happen, is it? We just don't get the fights we want to see these days, and if we do, then we get shitty decisions. As for the fight itself, I agree with everything that Steve said. That said, double stamp it. He is going to be there to be tagged, but the power seems to be the one thing that he carries. Very, very sloppy though. But at the end of the day, he's going to be in fun fights. Wee bit worrying that he's gassing out though. I must admit. I mean, he's thrown everything in those first few rounds. Gas, taking shots of the body, doesn't like it. Clearly didn't like it. Clearly it hurt actually as well. And then just went total caveman Lee and just fucking smashed the guy and dropped him. Fucking bad knockout, like, must admit. But fair play to Sanchez. He played his bit, like, because was it Manny Robles was in his corner, I think it was. Saying, look, listen, you didn't want to go into a war with this guy. Get on the jab, box, move, and really, it'd been ideal because if you look at him, he's very easy to hit down the middle, but he's just for some reason Sanchez just kind of like stood there and took his shots, tried to fight back. Fair play to him, he tried to fight back, but then he just got outgunned. That's all it really was in that. But if he'd just managed to stick to his boxing possibly in that, then it might have lasted a wee bit longer, I suppose. But I think Lara's definitely limited. I can't mind who the title holders are at this point at the. Was it WBC that was it? Was that a title fight last night, no?
Yeah, you have the dude that just beat Russell Jr.
Magsayo.
Magsayo is
Wood and Conlon next week, isn't it? Galahad lost to Martinez.
Martinez is fighting Warden as well, isn't he?
I feel like Navarrete has a minimal draft there too, like a secondary. And Santa Cruz is technically the super champion still, or something or other.
I've seen Joey Gonzalez had a win on Friday night, which I suppose he was fighting at a level of fighter that's probably kind of more class at 50-50. I think he's got his level, like, in this kind of fringe world.
I agree, Andy, 100%.
He was getting his ass kicked for the first few rounds.
Yeah, it was a competitive fight, by the way. And then I think after about the 6th, 7th round, Gonzalez took over, and what was that guy's name again? Forget at this point. I'll
Santissima or something.
Yeah,
was it
Gio Santissima or something like that.
He kind of like wore in the last couple of rounds.
He's good at a certain level, isn't he, Gonzalez, Andy? But I kind of think you saw what Stevenson did to him. I don't think he's got any better. That will happen again if he gets another opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's just proven his level, mate, to be honest with you. The Stevenson fight, then obviously the subsequent fights since, especially that one on Friday night, proved to me at least that he's fringe world class and that. So I like to see maybe that fight, but I think Lara would probably would not come out, to be honest with you. I'm just trying to think of some names and that who maybe give him severe problems. Again, Guy Russell would need to know how bad the injuries were and that. Santa Cruz is still there. I think Ozzy mentioned Santa Cruz.
Well, he's in the DAZN.
Brandon Figueroa.
He's in the Figueroa. Figueroa might move up, but that's a PBC guy. But I mean, Eddie does have play with these belts. There's unfinished business with Warrington, and he's got that with Martinez going. I fully expect him to beat Martinez again. So honestly, that might be what's waiting, but I don't know. Maybe they want nothing to do with Mauricio Lara anymore.
What about that Ray Vargas?
Oh, mate, no. Oh. Well, I suppose if there's going to be one thing, at least we can support Lara and hopefully knocks him out and ends that career, because that's one career.
Well, I'm thinking, look, there's money to be made here, and they could go to Mexico with that show, couldn't they? It's just a shame that the Navarrete fight's never going to happen because he's with Top Rank. I think, is Vargas with... Oh, is Vargas even with that? Is he unattached?
Hasn't he hooked up with the PBC now?
Was he PBC?
I think he
has.
Sure
he is.
Yeah,
he was another one.
PBC card.
He was another one who got caught at the time with Sergio Martinez at the time with the Clenbuterol.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Spotty back, isn't he, Vargas?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Lara is going to be one of these fighters that's just going to be frozen out because there is absolutely no value to fighting whatsoever, and the risk far outweighs the reward. And it's not right, but it's true. Realistically, you're not going to give him a voluntary if you're a world champion. And whilst he beat Josh Warrington, his name, in my opinion, doesn't carry enough clout to take that risk. You're not going to get big dough to fight Maurizio Lara, are you? And performances like that last night, when literally he can ice you with just, pretty much whenever he wants to, but can also be hurt. I'm not sure, because I think, what if you got Wood Conlon in a couple of weeks? I think, I know they're with DAZN, but I think that isn't. I think he'd bang out Lee Wood. I think Lee Wood potentially, it'd be a bit of a shootout because Wood can punch. But God, can you imagine Lara in against Michael Conlon? Can't be hurt by Conlon, who's, feather fisted. I think he'd knock Conlon out. It'd be so, I always say, at that world level, you've got to be able to hurt your opponent. And if you can't, and someone like Lara, who's a bit gung-go, it'd be murder for people like that. It's going to be interesting to see the way they look after him, actually, because, yeah, you're right. Last night was quite fun, but at the same time as well, I mean, I've never heard of that Sanchez before. He's complete unknown, realistically, and unless they're just going to try and go through the rankings, tap into that WBA relationship that they've got, try and get him a ranking, a ranking belt and push him up. That WBA belt has got the potential to stay in the DAZN stable and try and work him up towards that. Otherwise, like we said, who do you see him fighting? Because none of these world champions are going to give him a go. So he's going to have to force his way into a mandatory slot, I think, or potentially, take a chance and go up in weight, if he gets an opportunity. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's going to be a long, hard road for him because he's one of them, dangerous fighter, but you just don't get the kudos for beating him.
It's kind of like a Ricardo Mayorga kind of guy. There's that incredible unpredictability about him. And on any given night, he could beat any given fighter just because you don't know what the fuck he is going to do and where the punches are coming from.
It's correct. It's a fair assessment. It's completely right. And that's
Martinez
what I mean.
as well. I thought he had elements of Mayorga at times last night, bashing his chin and screaming and stuff.
Yeah, massively. But it's what these are, these Mexicans are. I mean, like you say, you question the matchmaker of who the fuck brought him over for Josh Warrington in the first place. But in reality, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be sat here talking about Maurizio Lara now, because dare I say, he probably wouldn't have got that opportunity. It's one that I'll watch quite closely. He's certainly fun and he is exciting for cards. I just think it's going to take a lot of money to put behind him to get the big names in with him or to get him a world title opportunity. Because I don't care what Warrington says, I'll be amazed if he goes near him again, even if he gets that world. I think he'll beat Martinez, but I'll be amazed. Yeah, that's what I mean. They're going to have to force him into a situation to become a mandatory to get these opportunities. I can't see any other way.
Do you think Eddie would actually kind of promote him and push him into that mandatory position?
Well, that's what I mean about the WBA. I think he could probably get WBA ranking tomorrow because they've got that relationship. I can't see it. I mean, look, it's all about money, isn't it? Money. With Lara, where are you going to make your money with him? He's got the style, to be enjoyed in America. That's for sure. They are starting to do shows in Mexico as well, but how much dough are you going to make over there, really? Canelo, but never fights in, never goes back to Mexico. I know we're talking different names there, but, something like that. I think what Lara could be done is if they could get him a big fight on the next Canelo show, try and build him underneath that. If you've got this, realistically, this fun, exciting fighter who bangs people out and has got ability, why not utilize him on those undercards and get eyes on him? Then you can start to promote him better. Yeah. If you're not going to do that, then what's the point? You may as well toss him away and just think, you know what? I ain't got the time for this. But if you stick him on this Canelo undercard now, where people are going to be watching, and a lot of people as well, and you don't need a big name, but at the end of the day, if we watch somebody and they're relatively unknown and they score a big highlight KO, we're tuning in again, aren't we? You know, when the next boxing, because you remember what they did, and that's what I think Hearn will need to try and do and get more eyes on him. Then he's got value to be promoted. I'll be amazed if he chucks him in with Warrington again, because for Warrington, if he gets the IBF belt, I think they'll look to, dare I say, cash out, but I think they'll look for the biggest fight available. And for me, that won't be Lara. That'll be a unification, or they'll try and make that, because Warrington's always got that lucrative Leeds crowd behind him from where, you know, that brings and generates cash.
Oz, I know we're going over all ground. I'll just jump in here if you don't mind, Matty. But I think it's so strange about the Lara fight with Warrington, dropping the belt and getting a guy like him in. We've seen now, we've got a good sample size of the way he fights. They would have seen this on tapes beforehand, whoever bought him in. They would have known what a dangerous, you know, low risk and reward fighter he is. Such a bizarre decision.
Oh, absolutely absurd.
And this must have really felt then that he hadn't really kind of fought anybody, or, you know, he couldn't have been anything really coming out of Mexico. Because we've seen it before. How many do we see coming across that are tough, durable, but really limited? This guy came in and just fucking, he hurt Warrington. Was it the first round? Dropped him in the first round numerous times.
I don't know if he dropped him in the fourth, but I think from the first, Warrington felt that power. I mean, we've always been quite dubious, you know, these Mexicans that come over because, you know, big punching records. They're not fighting nobodies, you know, like in Hungary, you know, like Belgium, that sort of stuff. These lads on, you know, like these Mexican cards, a lot of these, you know, like have got, you know, mixed records, but the proper fighters, they've just not got the money or the backing to get promoted. So when the Lara Warrington thing is one of the most bizarre decisions I've ever heard. Come over to Matchroom, vacate your belt, and then your first fight back after what was it? Basically a fairly lengthy layoff was we'll chuck you in with this unknown big puncher from Mexico who had no respect for him whatsoever, and he came and blitzed him, and, you know, well, he beat him up. I mean, Warrington, what did he have? But yeah, 2-year layoff, 18-month layoff. It is bizarre. But it's created an opportunity for Lara. So, look, I don't want to say a star because he's not really done anything. Yeah, he did beat Warrington, and I really rate Josh. I think he's a good fighter. But I won't say he's a star. And prospect is not the right word either. But he has got somebody who has got, you know, the fundamentals to be a danger in his division. So it is going to be interesting to see what they do with him.
It's a high risk, low reward kind of fighter, but damn it, he is entertaining as can be. I truly enjoy watching him. Also on that card, I didn't enjoy the fact that Angel Fierro was incapable of stepping on the fucking gas, and the ageless, always durable Juan Carlos Burgos was able to eke out a draw on that on two of the cards against him. Quite a surprise. Burgos, man, he's been around forever, durable as can be. He's just a distance guy. You got to give him credit. A very skilled guy.
Did he fight Mikey Garcia back in the day?
I think he did, and he got robbed against Rocky Martinez. He got robbed against Rocky Martinez at 130 for a title. I mean, he's been around forever. He's a good fight. He's a quality fighter, man. He's great for bringing these kids up and giving them some rounds and knocking away some pretenders. And God, Fierro had that great knockout over Alberto Machado last time out, and he just looked. The last half of the fight, he was totally disinterested.
Oh yeah, that was on Ring City, wasn't it? Do you remember that thing? Wasn't that Ring City thing? You know, that Freddie Roach. No, was it Freddie Roach? Do you remember they were doing the?
You might be right. It was some golden. Yeah, I think so. God, it all kind of runs together at some point in time. But I remember he whacked him with an overhand left, I think it was, and fucking iced his ass. So back to the drawing board for him. Burgos will get another small payday, and he keeps chugging along, man. Never takes too much damage. Brick of a chin. You gotta appreciate him for what he is. Also saw a good fight between, not really a good fight, Sissoko, the UD10 over Valenzuela Jr. Great fourth round. Watch the fourth round. The rest of the fight was Sissoko boxing circles around Valenzuela Jr. Nothing too interesting on that. 2 cards of 99-91, one of 100 to 90, and that was the DAZN card. Over on ESPN on Friday night or Saturday morning, depending on how you look at it, as the main event ended at 1:30 if you were on the East Coast. Thank God it was only 11:30 for me. But in what was a very high-level boxing match, which I enjoyed a great deal, Oz. It wasn't always fireworks, but the level of skill between Ramirez and Pedraza was incredibly high. There was 3 cards, 116, 112, all for Ramirez. I thought I was a little bit surprised by that, because I thought that you could have gotten as wide as 116, 112 Pedraza. There were some swing rounds in there. But how did you score this one? You got to give credit to Ramirez on this one. He kept finding answers as Pedraza was pulling tricks out of his sleeve. Oz?
Oh, he's be right back. Yeah, he's away.
Andy, go ahead and take it, my friend.
What was it? The Ramirez fight?
Yes.
I gotta put it, actually. It was so much was a slog for me, to be honest with you. I thought at points Pedraza boxed pretty well. It's just unfortunate. I think it's a wee bit uncommon to see boxers, return fire when they're like weaving under shots, etc. And that. I think for several rounds at least, he probably kind of like nullified what Ramirez was trying to do. I thought Ramirez was falling short with some punches. I think it was maybe the low vote. I know I picked Pedraza last week and that, because he is technically decent. I just don't think he had the power, the volume, and I also think you can see the difference in size, especially after the rehydration. I thought Ramirez missed a fair bit, but to my eyes at least, Pedraza was throwing less and landing less as well. So if you're into your guy coming forward, being aggressive, probably being a wee bit more kind of the ring general, compared to maybe kind of effective punching or whatever, and that, then yeah, I would probably say Ramirez won the fight. Probably, what was it, 116, 112? I didn't score it as such, but I did think he won the fight.
Yeah, I had it 115, 113. I thought he won it in the championship rounds. He really earned it down the stretch.
Yeah, he did. So he's probably just being that wee bit extra kind of bigger out the weight as well. So yeah, as I say, there was nothing really kind of like great about it as such. It was a 12-round win against a solid opponent for Ramirez coming off the Taylor fight. So I'm not really a big appreciator of kind of like slickers, slick fighters, and that, like guys like Pedraza and that who can like ride shots, slip and parry, that type of thing. But you got to give him credit in that as well. So I just think if he'd been a wee bit more active, if he had the power really just to kind of back up Ramirez, from time to time, it might have been a bit different. He might have kind of got the decision on another day or whatever. And that.
Yeah, he snuck in some uppercuts that looked just as good as the one that Taylor dropped him with.
Yep, the uppercuts and that as well, and the hooks. Because I think it was a left uppercut that dropped him on one of the. In fact, I can't remember if it was 2 uppercuts that dropped him twice in that fight. Actually, I know one did at least. But just on another matter, actually, as well. Like when we talk about 140 pounds, what the fuck's happened with Regis Prograis? Because if you're talking about opponents next for Ramirez, that would be ideal. But what the fuck is he doing?
He was on McKenna, isn't he?
He was on a Triller
he's fighting
card.
in Dubai, isn't he?
Tyrone McKenna.
He's fighting in Dubai against Tyrone McKenna.
Yeah, and he was on that Triller card.
Yeah.
I mean, I think McKenna next up for Prograis is just an embarrassment.
There must be something about Prograis. Why has he not been picked up by one of the big boys? He's had to float around here, there, and everywhere. DiBella, Triller, Probellum, all the nobody's ever picked him up. I wonder why.
What I noticed though is, mate, is I know Probellum is maybe a kind of a branch off MTK. Ramirez is with MTK as well. I noticed that. I noticed Robert Garcia.
Oh right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had MTK patch on the back of his jacket in the corner there on Friday night. So really, technically, that fight should be easily enough made, surely.
Oh, I'd like Prograis against Ramirez. I'll tell you, there's obviously a connection with. They're obviously doing co-promotion with Top Rank because that was a Top Rank card last night. And I would like to see a Zepeda rematch as possibly when those for one of the titles when they open up as well. I think that's worth the price of entry again. and it's easy to make because Zepeda's highly ranked. You know, he keeps reeling off the wins. So
I want to see Matias get a chance if the belts come vacant. To be honest with you, I think he's got decent dig about him as well. I think he'd give Ramirez a decent fight.
He can bang. He's a little bit vulnerable too. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, that'd be a great fight. That would.
Subriel Matias, aye.
Yeah, I think Prograis against Matias is the fight if you want to see a banger.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see what fights get made for when Taylor does vacate all of his titles, because you're going to have all 4 belts up for grabs. Now, from what I've been told, I think Jack Catterall is already mandatory for one of those already. I'm not 100% sure which one, but I would assume it's the WBO, given that it was the WBO who he was the mandatory with. So it's going to be interesting to see what the IBF, WBC, and WBA make. You know, there's some decent fighters up there. Will they put them in against each other? So, like we said, like potentially a Prograis Ramirez fight, or will it be random fighters get? He's the IBF mandatory. So he should be
big puncher.
He should be. He'll definitely be one of the fighters. So it was going to be interesting to see who's going to get these opportunities, because if going off, say, the WBO rankings at the moment, Catterall will be installed as 1, and I think the next guy, their WBO rank 2 is some random Australian lad. Yeah, it's like some random Australian guy. I think it's Liam Parrow or something like that. Well, I mean, God, what a fight that is for Jack to become a world champion. And realistically, I mean, might be jumping the gun, but bloody hell.
Just as you mentioned the rankings there, Ozzy, I just noticed WBA. They go, O'Hara Davis ranked number 3.
Fucking hell. Who's 1 and 2?
Alberto Pululo and Ismael Barroso.
Last time
he's ancient, man. Remember Anthony Crawler knocked him out back in the day, man.
Ismael Barroso.
Davis. Actually, there was a press release, right, about O'Hara Davis saying he was hunting down the Barroso fight. So there you go.
Jesus fucking Sandor Martin's ranked 4th. I think he should get a shot at the belt because after he beat Garcia.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Well, actually, Davis should have been fighting Barroso in Dubai. But do you not remember Barroso pulled out on fight week?
That's right. I remember
that. I mean, that is just a sham. How the fuck is O'Hara Davis at 4 and Barroso at 2? Oh, man.
Oh, Davis is at 3, mate.
3? Fuck's sake. But it's going to be interesting, you know, who's going to. I mean, that Jeremiah Ponce is definitely
number 1.
He's with the IBF. I'm sure Ramirez is quite high with the WBO, but you can rule out the WBO for that now. That'll be that's going to be Catterall against that Aussie guy. WBA, fuck knows. That's it. You may as well buy a raffle ticket and you might get an opportunity for that belt the way their rankings are going. And then the WBC, I'm not sure what their rankings are, but I think you said a good shout there, Andy. I think Sandor Martin definitely, if you're just going to pick on, you know, recent achievements, I think you've got to give Prograis an opportunity. I think Ramirez should get one. I think there's a pizza. Yeah, so you could go. Yes, he could go. Martin Ponce, Ramirez, Zepeda, Prograis against Matias.
Mm-hmm.
And then Catterall against the Aussie guy. I mean, I don't think the Aussie guy is worthy of it, but he is ranked 2. So you've got to give, you know, some clout. Well, I say some clout. It's going to be him. So
the thing is, it'll be good to see these guys. It'll be good to see fresh guys get a chance at a title shot. Like guys like Ponce, Matias, you know, rather than kind of same names like Ramirez is now ranked with the BBC quite high. Zepeda's had his chance. So is Prograis. So is Postol. Time for these other boys now to try and see if they can get, you know, guys like Martin, as you say, he's deserved it now after that Garcia win as well. So
absolutely, and that is ultimately where, you know, this Hearns, you know, I think Sandor Martin is promoted by him, or he's got some sort of like link up with him. That's where Hearn has got to go all out to try and champion Martin to get an opportunity. Because I tell you what, guess who's got a promotional agreement with Jeremiah Ponce? Mr. Frank Warren.
Oh, shit balls.
So he could have potentially an IBF 140 champion by randomly giving him a promotional deal. Like, I think it was a day before he fought Lewis Ritson over here. Signed him, it was Francis Warren who signed him to a deal, yeah.
I was
That's
going to ask
right.
you,
I remember
that was my
that.
question,
You're
actually.
right,
I was going to ask you when they signed them, actually. So it was just before.
Yeah, so it was just before that. Yeah, so I think they basically punted on it, and yeah, got him, signed him to a deal, and now he's going to potentially be involved in that. What's it called? In the mix.
Yeah.
What a delightful division we have at 140 pounds. Hopefully we get to see some of those big fights moving forward. I thought it was interesting looking back on the weekend that on the books, Martinez was a way less of an underdog than Pedraza was. That's looking back, that seems really strange. Anyhow, we win some, we lose some, don't we, Andy?
We do, mate. I heard you lost a lot of money at the weekend because you fucked up on your bets again, your parlay.
Yeah, that dude Burgos fucking pulling out that draw fucked me over. I had Ramirez on points with that, and yeah, that got me pretty good. But Oz, I don't know. We'll talk off air and figure out something for the first week. I know you're partying for your birthday. So for our first week of our prediction league, both Steve and Rob predicted the correct fighters who were going to win, but only Steve got both methods of victory correct. So after week 1, Steve is in the lead with 6 points to Rob's 5, my 3, and Andy's 3, since we split the Martinez, Gonzalez, Pedraza, Ramirez fights on our picks. So congratulations, Steve. How long can this last?
Well, this week, shout out to all the haters. Welling's the prediction king, sitting on top of the league. Let's enjoy it. Let's bask in the glory, Matty. That's what I say.
Yes. It we'll see how this one goes, and I always like the data, so we'll see how much any of us sucks, or otherwise. But yeah, it was a good, decent card for that Ramirez one. Andy, I thought probably away from that one, the highlight of the card was probably going to be Richard Torres, the heavyweight Olympian from the United States. He's a pretty good looking puncher. He has a cut, so he's probably going to be out a little bit longer than you want after your pro debut. But the dude can punch. Good second round stoppage. He's fun.
Yes, mate. I think I did watch him in the Olympics, and there was a few names kind of, or a few fighters kind of popped out to me. And he was definitely one of them. The manner of how he handled Kunkubayev actually absolutely smashed his nose to smithereens, and that. The way he steps in with that left hand, he kind of crouches and brings it in. That's the same punch that he broke Kunkubayev's nose, and then to kind of force the fight to be stopped. And that goes in, fights Jalolov in the finals. No great loss. Losing to Jalolov, who's probably the best of this generation, shall we say, amateurs at that weight division, like super heavyweight. He's got really thick legs, kind of thick, kind of upper body in that, so he's going to generate a lot of torque. Needs to work on his defense. He has got a bit of bob and weave in that, but I think what happens is he can take his head off centre and you can catch him with a kind of slappy kind of right hand. So he's going to kind of watch for that. It was a bad cut. I think it was a headbutt actually. But I'm not going to make big predictions. I did tweet it out in that as well. But I think this guy might surprise a few people. I'm not going to say he's going to become world champion that, but I think he could be in some hell of a fun fights. Might be a wee bit vulnerable. I'm not too sure yet, but I think he's I'll be right in saying he got stopped in amateurs and that as well. So I'm going to go and dig up on that one. Southpaw as well. Not many Southpaw heavyweights who can bang as well at this point, isn't it, in the weight division. So as it says, top rank, no doubt, will bring him along at a kind of glacier speed in that. But certainly, I think he's considering where he was kind of positioned on that card. I wonder if he maybe kind of look to push him. He's only 22, but it says there's a lot to like about him. It says if he keeps progressing, seems to be active. His engine seems to be pretty active. He kind of keeps moving during fights and that. Good up and down, good power, as I say. That maybe just needs to work on his defense a little bit. But I think there's a fair bit to like about him. I think, as I say, I think he's one to watch. As I say, that left hand certainly got doom written all over it.
Yeah, absolutely. The more training he gets, the more competition he gets, the more dialed in he could be. He's obviously with some of the ways he punches, there's a vulnerability to him though, and it's always a question if one of these journeymen might just catch him before he starts putting the tools together, right? Especially at heavyweight.
Yeah, possibly, but I'm just trying to think. I didn't know that the American scene heavyweight wise, mate, in terms of bringing your fighters up and that. I mean. So I don't know how they would match him, to be honest with you. Over here, now, obviously, we've got our domestic routes and that's the kind of route that we would go down. And that obviously, after about 15 fights, we'll get a rough idea as to where he's at and that. But certainly needs to be, I would say, but in the next, say the next 15 fights, that maybe he's ready for, I don't know, a Gerald Washington type name. I'm not too sure. Names and that, if you want to kind of use them as gatekeepers, journeymans, or guys like that ilk and that. But
Andy, someone like that Kingsley eBay would be good who fought Jared Anderson. He always comes and gives it balls to the wall.
Yeah, or that Georgian guy who always gets knocked down. What's his name?
Oh, Kaladze.
Kaladze, yeah. I think he would be ideal for him as well, possibly.
Yeah, you maybe need a little bit more seasoning before you get into there.
Yeah, not just yet, because he's a puncher, Kaladze.
Yeah, Kaladze's a bit of a puncher, but he's also vulnerable. So that's what I'm saying. I think the two styles would match pretty well, because obviously I think there's a wee bit of vulnerability about him there as well. Torres, we'll just need to wait and see, as I says. Nah, I mean, I'm only going off what I've seen him in the amateurs, not there. Was it Friday night? So yeah, look, as I says, fair bit I like about him, but I just need to wait and see how it transpires. Might take a hit or what?
I think he's been shot, hasn't he? He doesn't want to pronounce this surname with the
sorry.
super chat.
I thought I was talking that whole time. God damn it. I'd like to thank Chris Colquhoun for throwing an $8.99 into the super chat. He has nothing to say, just throwing us the bucks. We appreciate it. Again? Chris Colquhoun.
No, Colquhoun.
There's a Q.
It's a silent Q. Colquhoun.
How do you figure? What language is this?
It's fucking Scottish.
It's Alan Canooley, Matty.
Is that actually say that, Andy? That's Scottish,
it's a Scottish clan name, Colquhoun. Yeah, trust me, it is. Honestly, it is.
You know,
Scottish surname.
Our clans in the United States are far shittier than your clans, but at least we can pronounce their names.
Chris Cocker.
Big A saying in the chat quotes. Thanks to Chris Cockhound for the $8.99 super chat, courtesy of Maddie. Thanks for that, there, Big A. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat today. Sorry if I missed your name. We got Yimmy Yappy, who I assume is our homes, Jimmy Tappy, Craig Dez, M. Lithgow, Michael Thompson, JB, Asif Ali, Nathan Ford, Oklahoma, USA is my guess on that one. Chase Athletics, Take Ames, Paul Rafferty, Cheel 35, Ricky Gravel, G Dez, as well as Dez. Maybe they're competitors. I don't know. Jim McDonald, Tavern in the Town, Mr. James Ledbetter, Sam O'Hara Childs, Albert Ross, Ryan Ormerod, Motor City Cobra, Liam Wynn, Big A, Iron Fisted Champion, and Northern Monkey. Hopefully Northern Monkey throws us something into the super chat, and then he can have a battle with Southern Monkey the way that we have the Battle of the Burns. And we certainly went out on that one. Consider that, Northern Monkey. We can always find you an adversary. There's no shortage of that in our world, that's for sure.
Chris Burns, Matty, winning the Battle of the Burns so far, I believe.
I'm glad
Chris
I got to pronounce that surname again, actually.
Thank you. Have you even seen Joe Burns yet, Steve?
Not yet. He needs to pull his finger out. Chris has already thrown in a 179.
I know, this is bullshit. Where are you, Joe? We need you. You're part of the life of this chat, man. You're derelicting your duties. Someone who's not being derelict in their duties. Rapping Rob Kelly. Rob coming in at the perfect time. We just wrapped up the top ranked card, so give us your feelings on the whole weekend of boxing. What you liked, what you didn't like, and I assume what you thought was a beautiful performance from Roman Gonzalez.
Yeah, almost got the KO win that I said
should have
last week.
Should have
got the KO win. Saw a lot of comparisons to Manny Pacquiao, which I'm not mad at all. But I thought there were shades of Tito Trinidad in there last night. With the way he was throwing some of his punches, especially close in range. Got a lovely range of hooks, hasn't he, Chocolatito? And he just kind of he's hanging about, like, isn't he? He kind of had his moment late in the dying days of HBO, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's come too late for him." Well, never give up, because you could be on an app fighting Martinez. But no, jokes aside, I thought he did really well and thoroughly deserved the win. I thought one of the cards was a bit close, but Yeah, I don't really give a shit about the flyweights, like where he goes from here or what happens next or anything like that. But it was a top performance, and he is one of the best in the world. It's just a pity that there's not that interest in little lads, and the little lad he was fighting with the little blondie hair. There's not really kind of, you know what I mean. But who else was fighting? Who did you say who was on the top rank card? Did I see?
You had Pedraza against Ramirez on that one.
Oh shit! I didn't see that. Did Pedraza win that or no?
No,
Ramirez on points.
Ramirez
Points.
Yep, you're in second place in the prediction league, Rob.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking should have got that fucking KO. Martinez let me down, baby.
You got the ref let you down, man. He's a fucking sadist for letting that go on.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, it's corner too. I suppose I could have pulled him out. But
did you see the Mauricio Lara fight?
No. Did he win by knockout?
Oh, Rob, dude, go back and watch that fight. 3-round war. The third round's probably a round of the year candidate. Fantastic fucking fight, man.
Yeah, I just figured he was going to blow through the guy. I didn't bother checking for it, but yeah, okay, cool. I'll watch that again.
Yeah.
Casual Asylum.
Yeah, it was a good time there. Let's see here. Also a good time. We got Grant Riley throwing us in 250. He says, "No question, guys. Just love the content. We appreciate that, Grant. We commonly get the $1.79 ones or the £1.79 ones. I guess this is accounting for inflation to get the 250 there. Holy shit, man." Can't even make a roast for less than $20 at this point in time.
You're going to have to fucking inflate your parlays now.
Oh, man. My ego is deflating piece by piece, Rob.
Just make sure we don't get any Russian rubles, by the way, as well. That's when you know we're getting fucking fucked.
They're going to start having to put Bitcoin ATMs up on every corner in Moscow.
See, Zlatan wrote out some Bitcoin. We need to do the same, by the way. Aye, Bitcoin. We need to do something like that.
Rodney,
Nutcoin. We need to be getting Nutcoin under.
Nutcoins.
Boxing Asylum NFTs coming to you.
Nutters
sign up and win tickets to our latest event. We don't know what the fuck it is.
It's perfect, man. Look at our logo there. It's a lovely little circle for the coin in it.
It's going down tonight. Money Team collaboration, Boxing Asylum. Sign up right now for our next live event, the Boxing Asylum Nutters live event. We'll give you tickets to that if you go and buy our NFT. It's available right now via stick in a few super chats and then the NFT just magically appears in your inbox.
Yeah. Robbie K all day. Hey. Oh man, Steve says we have a few questions in the queue here. Let's see what we got shaking here. I know we got audio one as well. Where is it?
We got an audio question.
Yeah, we got an audio question. Let's see here. Which one? No, that's not it.
Interactive.
I'm telling you. That was the question. Oh, there it is from Holt. All right. Oh, this is more of a rant, Steve said, but damn it. We appreciate our Patreons, Holt. And if you want to rant on, let's see here. He says, question rant for next week's pod. I haven't watched boxing match for probably 5 to 10 years. Just shit fucking robberies and blatant corruption, like what seemingly happened with Taylor Catterall.
That's for them. No watch boxing in fucking 5 years.
Just fucking kill
come on and do my bit.
The sport fucking stinks. It's awful. Just awful. Can't enjoy it. I couldn't get excited over any matchup knowing I'll probably end in a blatant robbery or terrible refereeing or PED scandal, etc. But I've always continued to listen to the pod for years and years because it's such a laugh. Doesn't shit like this just make you want to fuck off the sport for good, though? I, of course, remember when Andy was livid with Wilder Povetkin being the last straw when he stepped down as host. The cheating, corruption, all the rest of it with these poor bastards slaving away, brain deranged to fuck, makes me angry. Boxing fucking stinks. It is shit. Just plain shit. Fuck boxing. Fuck it.
Was that Smith or that in? No.
Well, Holt, we appreciate you being one of our Patreons.
He's one of the top payers as well.
Yeah. He's like one of these fellas that he doesn't listen to music. He just listens to podcasts that are about music.
Is he okay, by the way? Is he off his meds or something?
Oh, good man.
He's class. He's a great guy. He's in the chat. He's bantering away, but he doesn't.
Just doesn't watch the fights. You're right, too, man. Fuck him.
Yeah, he's got his moments, I suppose. I mean, I got up this morning and I was like, what a day. I know some guys get up and, go and watch the fights without knowing the result. I can't do that. I've got to know because I've got to plan. See if I've got like 5 fights to watch and every single one goes the fucking distance. I'm like, nah, I ain't watched all 5, so I've got to fucking pick it out. So yeah, it gets testing. Back in the day, I could watch about 3 or 4 cards over the course of a weekend.
It was unrivaled work what you were doing. The amount of tape
exactly,
you were
mate.
watching was unrivaled work.
I know.
You know, other podcasters are just lazy. They don't watch the fucking 5 fights.
Ben Davis lent me, mate. I taught Ben Davis everything he knows.
There's levels to this tape watching.
It's like following the sun throughout the day. We start with Japan, work our way through Russia to the prison cantina. Before you know it, we're on
It was
top
legendary, these fights we used to watch, man. I mean, I remember being cut sitting up one night watching what's his name? Sharif Bougre. Him had the fucking
on a Saturday night.
Sharif
Bougre.
Yeah, that's it. Him had that lion headdress on. My God,
Dude, Sharif Bougre and Richard Abril was one of the worst fucking fights I've ever seen in my goddamn life.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Box Nation days. I used to watch anything, dude, because anything was on it.
It was so bad. They fucking made Richard Abril take a letter off of his name. Like, you're shit. You lose a fucking letter. You're Richard now.
Richard.
Yeah, so it does get testing. It really does. Last week was like, I was disgusted for last week's result, and that I actually didn't even read anything about boxing for about 2 days at the start of this week, and then I started seeing comments coming through on Friday night. I was watching the ESPN card, and that ESPN are now saying that Cattrall fight was a close decision. Andre Ward saying it's a close decision. The only person to stand up and say that it wasn't such close and the right man should have got the man who should have got the decision got robbed. That was his exact words. Tim Bradley.
Bradley was all on that fucking shit. He thought it was bull.
He's an outlier, isn't he? ESPN are embarrassing shills, man. They want to be embarrassed with themselves. That fucking idiot Tessitore. Andre Ward's as bad. I tell you what, they're terrible at the moment.
Here's a question for you. Why the fuck does Andre Ward always do these ESPN shows for his fucking studio? Why is he not at ringside?
Fuck, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I was wondering that myself, actually.
I wonder if it's something to do with the vaccine or whatever. And that, doesn't want to put himself at risk. He's maybe not vaccinated, for example.
Yeah, maybe he can't fly because he can't get on a plane or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he got trouble and he's on an ankle bracelet.
I just thought I'd throw that in there. I mean, as I say, the guy's right. I mean, I lost the plot after him because of that Wilder situation. I get pissed off. I get pissed off about shitty decisions. Mentioned it last week. I mentioned Kotelnik against Alexander. What was the one that Ozzy mentioned? The Japanese guy, Murata against, was it Rob Brandt? I ended up losing the fucking plot with that guy Mendoza.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, when I get on it big style. Honestly, I will not let it go. I will not let it go. I'm just one of the guys. If something starts bugging me, it's like my grandfather used to say to me, Andrew, if you've got a problem, get fucking rid of it. So I just go away and argue the fucking toss about it just to try and make it fucking better, try and change something, but it never works. Because just fucking accept it,
It's if you want to be a boxing fan, you have to accept that there is greater room for human error in the outcome, and there's also greater room for corruption in the outcome. It just is.
Talking about that, and Ozzy will love this comment. I suppose he maybe even confirm if it's true or not as well. But Robert Smith apparently went in that dressing room. Jack Cattrall was there last week and says hard lines or whatever it was, close fight. He was fucking bombed out that dressing room within fucking 2 heartbeats.
I think he tried to ring him as well, and the phone call lasted about 45 seconds. It's not surprising. Do you know? I watched a couple of Robert Smith interviews, and I agree with some of the stuff that he said. Actually, not about the fight, but in boxing in general. But one thing that now has appeared is that Robert Smith admitted that Jack Catterall won, and he admitted that Ian John Lewis's card surprised him. But now we've got degrees of robbery. It's not a case of, no, he should have won, so he should have won. We've now got, well, he's nicked it. Well, hang on. This narrative has just started to appear that he's nicked it. How? I still don't get how you can claim he nicked it. And it's like, well, we've got degrees of robbery. Well, it was a close fight. He nicked it, so it doesn't matter. Bollocks. You've got the secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control coming out saying he won. Ian John Lewis's card surprised me. We're going to have a look at it. But what will come back out of the investigation will be, yeah, Ian's card was probably wrong. There's no point in ordering a rematch because Josh Taylor has informed us that he's going to be going up to 147 hard lines. And that's it. But it's this degrees now that we've got levels of robbery. No, if a fighter deserves to win, he should have won. And that is final. None of this rubbish about, he's nicked it. It was close. on the narrative Andre Ward spun as a commentator was embarrassing for that Catterall fight. I watched it back, listening to him. It's like Andre Ward, he sees something early on or sees it pre-fight, and he just tries to sandwich the opinion into the fight, and it has no relevance whatsoever. And I thought it was quite interesting that basically a lot of the people who had it close were the ones who watched it on ESPN in America, and they were dictated to by Andre Ward. And I actually thought Bean and Macklin were quite good. I've seen some comments since, like say, it was a close fight, and ESPN have got, top talents like Andre Ward doing the commentary, and Sky have got Matthew Macklin. The disrespect towards Matthew Macklin on that basis. Matthew Macklin had a great career. Just because he didn't win a world title doesn't mean he can't, offer an opinion as a commentator and as a commentator. Yeah, Andre Ward scored the fight to Josh Taylor, and he's in the complete minority. And it always proves my point of that. Just because you've boxed doesn't mean your opinion is right. It's absolute bullshit. And they've helped create this narrative that Catterall ran away in the second half of the fight and boxed on the back foot.
I've always thought ESPN, as well as I said, I thought Andre Ward was spinning his own narrative to suit his own story. But I always think, I've been saying for years on the pod that I think that ESPN, they get a script at the start and they don't deviate from it. It has to be, because I've heard Ward commentate on other stuff, and he knows his shit like Andre Ward. He didn't become a fucking imbecile overnight, but it's like him, Tessitore, Bradley, the house fighter or whoever they decide at the start is going to be the one that they talk about. They just center the fucking commentary around them. Like, it's
massively.
It's embarrassing.
Can I just throw something quickly, Ozzy, on that? Because do you remember when Inoue made his American debut on HBO against Antonio Nieves, and Ward was really critical of him? And then whenever he came back on ESPN, he's the best thing since sliced bread. So it's definitely narrative driven. Sorry.
Massively. You're correct. And it's no shock when ESPN and Top Rank sent a 30-man heavy team over to watch Josh Taylor. I think they were expecting, a big KO win, and then they can go and market the fuck out of him in America, that sort of stuff. It didn't happen, yet they still stuck to a narrative. People are not thick. They are not, unless they're blind and you're literally relying on somebody to tell you what's going on, you can see what is happening. And I've said before, it is very rare that you get probably 95, 98% of boxing agree that the fight was wrong and wrongly scored by a long way.
Fret not, because some lads with a podcast are going to get to the bottom of it all and ask the real fucking questions. Why is everyone scared to say this guy's name? We're going to ask him the questions the next time we see him. Robert Smith.
But yeah, it's a narrative that in the sport stinks. It's that, basically if your face fits, they'll happily, sweep a decision under a carpet. Yeah, if it doesn't. I mean, I got told that apparently Robert Smith said as well, ringside, that the Undisputed Championship is too big for a town like Chorley. If he's saying comments like that,
true. That's disgraceful.
That is an absolute disgrace. That is why I got told.
But it's fit for Edinburgh, is it? It's grand up
I was going to say, what about guys like Pacquiao, for example, coming out of sublime poverty, by the way?
Yeah, exactly.
Coming out of fucking some village, middle of the Philippines.
Yeah.
Is that too big?
It's a guy's full of shit. I heard him on. He was on Talksport with Simon Jordan. I think he was addressing one of the recent UK robberies, not this one, but a decision. I think it was what was the fight? And it was on a stoppage.
Wasn't it the Bradley Skeet Shiraz thing?
Yeah, Shiraz.
And he was asking him to do the right thing or whatever, but he got into scoring with him. And Robert Smith said, "Yeah, well, it basically comes down to whoever lands the most punches." And I reckon, yeah, all right, like you're onto something, but that's not the scoring criteria. And if you're the fucking head of the fucking British Boxing Board of Control, you should at least be able to explain to the layman how a round is scored. So he seems to struggle with that in every interview I see with him. So maybe it's time for change there.
Well, he fills a glass with water.
Yeah, I mean, imagine thinking that through and saying it out loud.
I know.
The fuck? What?
Steve, real quick, I want to touch on something Oz and the Andre Ward thing. I think it is really ridiculous that Andre Ward scored that fight for Taylor, considering that Catterall fought at distance, stepped in on him after a miss from mid-range, landed a quick shot and clinched. He fought the fucking Andre Ward special. Andre Ward should have scored that like 118, 109 or some shit.
Yeah, no, I said my piece last week. Obviously, there's all agendas and scripts going back and forward. It's Tessitore who annoys me on ESPN. I know he's there to hype things up, no, but everything is brilliant and it's all emotional, and that means I think it dilutes things down. When you do see genuinely great things, it's diluted by people like Tessitore because everything's amazing. Every undercard fight is fantastic. So
the Matrix Lomachenko,
yeah,
downloading the data.
See that Osuna. When he lost his shit when Zepeda knocked out Baranchik and that, and he kind of had to check himself. He's another one that's going to get a wee bit kind of carried away with himself. I did think Kriegel's bit on Usyk and Lomachenko was really, really well written, I must admit. Don't know if anyone's seen that.
Real quick before we moved to our audio question, I was just checking over some Facebook messages we had, and here's one for you, Andy. It said from Luke Hobbs. It says, "Good morning, gents. I just wanted to thank Andy for shining a light on Chocolatito. I'm a massive casual, but stayed up to watch the fight last night. So glad I did, as that was one of the most enjoyable fights I've seen for years. Can't believe how good Choco is, mesmerizing at times. Fair play to Martinez, as his balls are the size of King Kong's. Look forward to listening later on." There you go. We're glad to have taken part in decreasing poverty in Nicaragua by shining a light on Gonzalez for all these years.
Yeah, I mean, look, Smiddle is like the self-proclaimed casual of this podcast. You never see him from 1 year to the next and that, but, you know, even he's a big fan of Gonzalez. And I can't remember what card, one of the Golovkin cards, I think he went to go and see him in New York and took his missus and that, and he says to his wife, he says, look, I've been told this is the guy to watch, and he came away suitably impressed. So if you can impress Smiddle, then you can impress anybody.
If you can impress Smiddle, you're probably watching darts or UFC or something.
Horse racing. Frankie Dettori.
All right, so we got an audio question in here we're going to pull up. Here we go. This is from Ted Barrett.
Question for the pod, Steve. Do you think cornermen hold back on telling their fighters they need the knockout because of the questions they'll get after and how it looks? Davison on the weekend telling Taylor he needs the knockout after he's got to answer questions. If you think he won the fight, why are you telling him he needs the knockout? Oh, because I wanted to fire him up, all that bollocks. Then you got McCracken in AJ's corner, no urgency, telling him he needs a knockout against Usyk. Could you be thinking, AJ's a home fighter here, big draw, he's taken a few rounds, could Usyk get dropped on a scorecard? So I'm not going to say he needs a knockout, it will look bad. Then you got Colbert on the weekend, couple rounds to go, obviously needs a knockout, and he ain't going for it. He's the home fighter, relatively unknown opponent. Could you be thinking, if I go for the knockout and get stopped here, then I'm done. But if I let it go to the scorecards and try and fucking not get knocked out these last couple of rounds, hopefully I'll get the scorecards. Obviously, you're never going to be able to tell, definitely. You ain't in their head, but just an opinion. Could it be happening?
I don't know, Rob. What's your thoughts on the advice of gunning for the knockout? And it's you hit on a different levels there. Like you're admitting that you're defeated and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Interesting points.
Well, far be it for me to criticize trainer of the year Ben Davison, but he seems to have a reluctance to the aggressive style, doesn't he? I think Ozzy mentioned he's single-handedly responsible for the worst performances of Billy Joe, which wasn't even a title fight. I don't think that night he had him before. He went with Fury with Wallin, although I think I said before Gamachi needs to get credit for that and Wallin for his own performance, but still not the Tyson Fury we would have expected to see. And then Josh Taylor in the worst he's looked since he broke through to the mainstream. So in terms of, like, I don't know if he coaches that way, So I think that might be a bit of a chink in his armor. I don't know if he he actually can. It seems like he's not able to from what we've seen so far, work with aggressive fighters. So I don't know. There might be question marks over Ben Davidson. Far be it for me to raise them, but I think there might be some over his style. I'm not a fan, like I said before. I think he's a Bushi man. He's another Tundi, like isn't he? He's
You hit the mute button, Rob.
There he is. No, you didn't.
Oh,
hit the
sorry.
mute button.
He said he seems to be able to talk his way into situations, but in terms of trainers not telling fighters that they need to go to the knockout, I think with McCracken and AJ, there was a dynamic there of maybe McCracken dialing it in. I mean, it's easy for us to be as fucking passionate. It's generally people who are not earning a penny out of the sport that are the most passionate about it. When you get to that level and you're earning that kind of money, and you know you're setting maybe your family up and your future up, it does become quite transactional. I know Manny Stewart was accused of that like a couple of times of being kind of mercenary and that he trained anybody if the price was right. Like then, you know, sometimes, although he would have definitely gone for the knockout, that that was in his DNA. Like, but I think maybe McCracken was maybe dialing it in with Joshua. Maybe I think from the outside looking in, it looks like there's a whole lot of yes men in that camp. Like maybe he just was going with sticking to the script. But I agree, even in the Ruiz fight, I don't think he showed that much urgency for Joshua. But like the fighters react to different react in different ways. Some of them need a rocket, some of them need an arm around the shoulder or whatever. But I don't know. I thought Davison should have been urging Taylor forward much earlier in the fight last week. Thought it was clear that he was losing the fight and he needed a miracle, especially after getting dropped. In anybody with fucking eyes, minds, you would have been telling him that he needs to pull out a stoppage. So, you know, you look back to, you know, the great trainers, like you look at Angelo Dundee, the Sugar Ray Leonard, you're blowing a kid. You look at him, you got 9 minutes. You know, you got Manny Stewart berating fucking Lennox Lewis and Klitschko at different stages in their career to not fuck around and take risks. So there's levels.
Yes, there are certainly levels. I saw this come up in the chat. I thought this was a good question to close out the Q&A here. Oz, I'll throw this your way. Adari Pennant. Does anyone think the WBC Bridgerweight division is going anywhere in boxing? Yes or no?
No, absolutely nothing. There's no clamour for any fights. I think it's a bit of a gimmicky division, really, because you've not got the fighters who've committed to it. And the fact is that you can only fight under one sanctioning body in that. And, you know, the rankings were made up. You know, it's a case of we'll just rank anybody who could probably fight at that division. I think Alan Babbage is quite highly ranked in that already. And, I mean, fuck me with some what Babbage is like as well. It's a division that was never needed. I think if it was between light heavyweight and cruiserweight, I think you'd get some legit buy-in from it, because I think that is a jump from where a lot of fighters, you know, struggle to do that, you know, coming up from light heavy up to cruiserweight. If you add an in-between there, I think that's a realistic weight division. I don't think we need a weight division between cruiserweight and heavyweight, which is what, you know, Bridgerweight is. No one cares about it. Me personally, I would not recognise any world champion, you know, who wins a belt in that, because I just don't see it as legit. I think it's a bit of a fad. It's pointless. And, you know, if they abolished it tomorrow, great. I mean, you know, I forgot about it actually until that question. You know, it's not a division. You know, if we're discussing it, we'd never say, oh, they can fight at Bridgerweight unless we're taking the piss. I mean, it says it all. I think Saul Farah actually won a WBC belt, you know, like one of these random ranking belts in the Bridgerweight division. I mean, fucking hell, facts.
I want to see.
So, I mean, it says it all, doesn't it?
Let's see Tony Bellew versus Jake Paul for the first fucking WBC Bridgerweight fucking big money clash. That's what I'm here for. Jake Paul, longest reigning Bridgerweight.
As long as Paul's the A side in that, then I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, well he'd have to be. You can't find Tony these days. He's on an app.
No,
can't see him.
That's the thing. You see, if you look at the Bridgerweight rankings, now you never see any of these guys fighting regularly. Take Babbitt. You've got Marco Hook. Fucking hell, man. Ryan Zicki. Arthur
Is he still fighting Marco Hook?
Aye.
He's been mandatory for the EBU title for fucking ages.
What's the last time he fucking fought?
Marco Hook.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
I looked that up because
I didn't even think he was still fighting.
Hey, Hey, I tell you, we could get in that division. Why don't we get Firat Arslan up to
I was gonna
Bridgeweight?
say that.
What's going on
Without
there?
doubt, mate. King
But
Farad
no,
too.
it's Bridgeweight is a tin pot division. It's a division I've no interest in. It's chip shop. It's a mockery. The WBC tried to do it, I think, to make some money on it, and ultimately it's not taken off. And look, I said the one weight division that is needed is between light heavyweight and cruiserweight. That's it. We don't need to see any other weight divisions in boxing.
Would you go Aussie if a WBC Bridgeweight title fight rocked up in Chorley though against Robert Smith Wishes?
It depends what fighters, to be honest, mate, because there is that saying that if it was on in my back garden and it's a bad fight, I wouldn't watch it. I think if I've got to admit, I think if Farah made the trip to Chorley, I'd certainly be going there. I think the town hall could probably get about 1,000 in the town hall at Chorley. So.
Max and Paddy doing the security on the fucking night.
Yeah, too right. Yeah,
Clinton Baptiste as the MC.
Don't mess with the daddy love. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Oh,
yeah.
Marco Huck fought in August of 2020 against Dennis Lewandowski, who weighed in at 335 pounds.
God. Yeah, he is absolutely huge. So I remember he fought on a matchroom. He fought on a matchroom show. Oh, I forget who it was against. It might be against someone like Fabio Wardley or something like that. And on his box rec picture, he was in fairly decent shape, steady record, padded. And then they brought him over. It's like it was basically his fat twin brother. He was fucking huge.
Oh, Dennis Lewandowski is that? Yeah,
I just pulled
yeah,
it
he
up.
was.
Yeah.
His highest ever weighed,
huge.
Mate, for Fabio Wardley, he weighed 352 pounds.
That is some going, that, by the way. That is some effort.
For the hook fight, he went on a serious diet and weighed 335 pounds.
Well, I hope he gets the help he needs, that fella. I hope he recovers, lives a long life.
Steve, you've got John Chewer filling up on sausages and bacon because he can't put the weight on, and you've got Dennis Lewandowski, who cannot clearly just loves to pile the weight on because he can't put the sausages and bacon down.
That Lewandowski, imagine taking him for a blood sample by the end, they get gravy out his veins, man.
It's come back ragu. Oh, what's wrong with me? Stop that. Fuck's sake. Poor chap.
Poor son of a bitch. Oh man, it's tough being in the first. You gotta think it's tough, like for people in the third world when they see images of like 300, 400, 500-pound people in the first world, and they're scrounging for food, and they're like, "Where the fuck does this person get all this goddamn food at?" But anyways, so we have not a lot of big fights.
Don't worry, Matty. I have a feeling some food shortages are coming.
Yeah, no shit. I can't even. We won't even get into the shit that I couldn't find at the goddamn store. Pissed me off. No beans and rice, motherfuckers. Anyways, we have a good number of fights, but not great cards. On Friday from Quebec, Gabriel Mastre is going to be taking on Torres Shadestuik. I have no idea. Shalestyuk? God, I don't know, man. That name's gonna, me and the Russian names, and I'm not.
Kolhoun, I think it's pronounced myself.
Ukrainian, actually. So you got to get this right these days.
Is it? God damn it! Okay,
geopolitics.
Well, I'm pulling for him because Maestre, quote unquote, undefeated, as is Torres. So, anyways, going on also on Friday. From Paisley, Scotland, Andy got in a battle between Nathaniel Collins and Raza Hamza. You going to be making the trek to Paisley?
Oh, fuck, mate. Paisley's a shithouse.
I have no idea. I don't even know what part of the country that's in.
It's the other side of Glasgow, mate. Fucking, yeah. I don't be going to it. No, what card was that, sorry? I thought you said Chris Bork.
No, we'll talk about that one in a second. We're getting there.
What card was that then?
That's one from Paisley. From Paisley, Scotland. That's the only thing on there that looked anywhere decent. It's
on Fight Zone, that I think.
Ooh, there you go, Andy. On Saturday from Panama, Jezreel Corrales is going to be taking on the undefeated Miguel Medueno, who is 27-0. That might be interesting. But for our prediction, league, we got a British title clash at 135 pounds between friend of the pod, Chris Bork at 10-0 against Mark Leach, 17-1-1. Oz, why don't you give me the lowdown on this fight and who are you taking?
Fantastic fight, this. Really good. Genuine 50-50 as well. Chris Bork has done everything right as a pro so far. You know, he's stepped up to, I think he's been matched quite well. He's stepped up to every challenge. I can't remember if he boxed last time out. He was against Michael Ramirez, and he absolutely blitzed him. Bit of a shock, actually. No, sorry, it wasn't. He beat James Beach Jr. It was quite game, but is limited. But it's the way you do, you know, you beat these people. And he beat up Beach Jr., who did well to survive the bell. Mark Leach, he is a fighter that's really suffered just through, you know, lack of backing. You know, no one's really ever got behind him. He beat Kays Ashfaq on Fight Camp, and then Eddie came out with a winner stays on attitude, and Mark Leach never stayed on because he upset one of his prospects. Got a really good win over Thomas Asomba as well. I think, you know, Asomba is, you know, the perfect description of a fighter where don't judge him off his record. You know, he's had some been on the wrong end of some decisions, but decent fighter, particularly domestically. So it's a perfect British title fight, really good. I think this is one of Warren's like development cards more than anything on a Friday night. You know, a lot of prospects on the undercards, and then, you know, headline with a bigger fight. I don't know. It's quite difficult to predict. I sided, I think, with Mark Leach on the basis that I think Leach has got more experience, and he's a very cute boxer, and his skills are underrated. And I think his power's underrated as well. You don't drop Asomba if you don't have a dig, because Asomba is as tough as they come. That saying, I think Chris Bork is very good as well. He's got power and he also has skills. Certainly a defeat for each doesn't, you know, it doesn't rule out any careers or anything like that. Difficult one. I'm going to side with Mark Leach, I think, on a very close points decision. But it's rare you predict it. But honestly, a draw wouldn't shock me in this fight either. I think it's that close. I don't see the fight getting stopped. I think it could be that close. A draw wouldn't surprise me at all either. And I really hope the cards aren't controversial, because Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis are going to be in the corner for Mark Leach again. So I think for me it'd be some rotten luck if they're on the wrong end of another bad decision. But yeah, great fight. I'm going to side with Mark Leach on a very close points win.
Andy, who do you got?
There's no one I've been following quite closely, to be honest with you, mate. But I'll go with Bork on points.
You're telling me I don't even live in the same country. Steve, who do you got, sir?
Well, I am going to go for Bork as well by late stoppage. I think it's going to be a good fight. I rate Bork. I know he came on with us as well. He's a friend of the pod. Good wins over Ramirez Mahmoud, who's also been on with us. Good win over James Beach, who's tough as old boots. I think Leach is good. I remember the fight against that. I couldn't remember who he upset, but Ozzy's reminded me it was Ashfaq. But I was flicking through my father-in-law's copy of the Sunday Life, which is a kind of Sunday Belfast paper, a couple of weeks ago. And Frampton happened to be going on about Mark Leach in his column. He's a former stablemate of Leach, obviously been in the Jeremy Moore camp and going on about how talented he was, similar to what Ozzy was saying, looking for the big breaks and stuff. So he's going to be all fired up and coming out. Good, skilled fighter. Fought in Zimbabwe, I think, or somewhere in the past as well. So he's got some good experience under his belt. But yeah, I think Bork, I think it's going to be a good, evenly matched fight. They're both going to go for it, but Bork's power might just tell late on. And I just have envisioned Leach kind of wearing down and being stopped in like the 11th or 12th round for some reason by no great confidence in it. I think it'll be pretty nip and tuck, pretty close. Wouldn't be surprised if Leach won either, if he's as talented as what Oz and Frampton says. But Bork late stoppage for me without any great degree of confidence.
Rob, who do you got?
I haven't a fucking shot on this one. I'm going to go for big man Bork by points.
Work on points.
Here, Matty, just while you're totting that up, actually, you touched upon the Jezreel Corrales card. I'm not going to drag you down a black hole, but I tell you what, they've dug out the names for that Panamanian card, haven't they? All the great fighters of yesteryear. You've got Corrales on there, as you
Anselmo
mentioned.
Moreno.
Anselmo Moreno's there. Ricardo Nunes. Alberto Mosquera, brother of Vicente, who fought Edwin Valera. Me and Andy did a punches from
That
the
was a
past on
fucking fight from hell, man.
Brilliant fight, man.
Ooh.
Liborio Solis, we've seen him a few times. Nehomer Semeno, can't remember who he's fought, but I definitely recognise the name. So I'm surprised Duran himself hasn't been dragged out, but great one for the legends in Panama. I just thought I'd mention that.
I think Sermano was a bantamweight fighter. I think he might have fought Moreno at one point in time.
Did he? Right, okay.
Maybe. That sounded a little familiar. Let's see here. You know what? Oz is pretty damn sharp on these domestic cards. I'm going to follow in his footsteps on this one. I'll go with Leach on points. So, all right.
Yeah, hang on, Matty. Hang on. Sorry, I'm going for it again. Semeno is fighting Otar Erenosian, who I believe, I could be wrong here, didn't he fight on one of those recent cards me and you were watching?
That badass dude, and he's always wears that.
Castillo, yeah.
He wears that crazy fucking hat, and he jumps around, wings punches. Yeah, he's a fun fighter.
Less than 2 months later, he's fighting Semeno on this card, so there you go.
Fucking A.
I've seen Semeno fight before. Did he have fights with Montiel back in the day, Moreno, about 2 or 3 fights with Moreno, Miyares or whoever it was?
That's what I thought. Yeah, it might have been Maharis.
Aye.
Yeah.
Kanzu, he lost to. He fought Oscar Escandon. Alexander Bakhtin. Oh, you're going back there, a Russian fighter. Are you allowed to mention Russian fighters now? I don't know. Fernando Montiel.
Just stop saying Russia on the pod. Full stop.
Yeah,
we're
gonna get banned.
We might end up getting. This is sponsored by the Russian state media.
MI5 are going to be after us like John Fury if we don't stop this.
Put in a disclaimer.
Put in a disclaimer. Put in.
Get the computers Putin, right?
Jesus Christ. It's going to be a fun, hopefully only a month or so and not
this is what happens when they box don't really talk about that. You just end up going down rabbit holes and talking shit.
Oh, welcome to my life. Anyhow.
No better man than me to go down a rabbit hole, let me tell you.
You like dags?
Gonna need an old priest and a young priest.
He's a priest, you know?
Yeah.
So let's see here. Stateside on Saturday, you're going to be able to check out Showbox card between undefeated Ardriel Holmes and 1 defeat, 1 loss, 13 win Vernon Brown. And also a fight between Luis Acosta, 12-0, against Edwin De Los Santos, 13-1. Showbox generally puts up some pretty competitive cards, so that should be an all right evening there. But during the daytime there, we are going to have the fight for the WBA regular title. Who knows what the WBA has going on at 126 pounds in what actually is a really good fight between Leewood versus Mick Conlon. But before we get to that, I want to touch on the undercard a little bit. You got Terry Harper going in against Yamila Belin Abelaneda. And then Jorge David Castaneda is taking on Kid Galahad in his 130-pound venture up north.
That fight's off. That fight's off now.
Really?
Yeah. It's off, yeah. I saw some comments saying it'd been cancelled, but I don't know why.
Interesting. So I guess that's going to leave it with chief support is going to be Gary Culley against Miguel Vasquez. And Steve, the reason this one jumped out at me, and I think Culley might be definitely in position to get a stoppage here, is this is back down at lightweight where Vasquez hasn't fought at in quite a while. He's always had a lanky frame. He's a 5'10" guy, used that jab. I don't know that he can comfortably squeeze back down to 135 pounds. Tell me, do you know much about Gary Culley, and can he potentially take advantage of a drained Vasquez who might not have his legs late?
Well, you might see a drained Culley because I don't know how he makes the weight. He's 6'2". He's a big unit of a fella. He's massive. Oh, he's a big, lanky streak of piss, Culley. He's a great fighter, really good. I remember him back as an amateur. Watched him a few times as a pro and the kind of things MTK undercards. He had a 50-50 with Joe Fitzpatrick for the Irish title in the Ulster Hall, knocked him out in a round. He can punch. He's exciting. He got dropped. I think it was Craig Woodruff dropped him with a body shot on one of the shows in the bubbles that they were doing back in the time. But yeah, he's a good fighter, Culley. Massive for the weight. Loves a scrap and that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Again, the interest is obviously whether he can stop Vasquez. He's not a massive puncher, but he's going about things the right way, and they seem to be backing him. Like I say, he's got a nice tattooed neck as well, so he's got everything going for him. Culley, he's really tall, really lean, can clearly dig. Got dropped that time. Exciting fighter in the making, decent enough chief support. I would like to have seen something else alongside this just to beef it up a little bit, but Eddie's cutting back on the purse strings with the main event. But yeah, this could be a decent fight if Vasquez comes to have a go. If he's drained, if he's ready to get battered, Culley will take advantage. So yeah, decent enough.
Yeah, God, it'll be weird seeing Vasquez back at 135 pounds. God, I even wonder if he can make it. I'll actually be looking at that weigh-in with interested eyes to see how that's looking. Could be interesting to lay some lumber there. But, Andy, what we're really there for on what is going to be Saturday evening for you, Saturday afternoon for me, is this 126-pound clash between Lee Wood and Mick Conlon. After Wood's performance against Zoo, I think this fight became tremendously interesting. He's got a bit of a punch about him. He's not a huge puncher, but it just seems like Conlon's not the kind of guy who has the who has the kind of firepower to keep somebody off if they can manage to really cut the ring and just stay in front of him. How do you see this fight going? Or did Andy take off now?
Yeah, I think he's away at the moment.
God damn it. Steve, take it.
Yeah, sure. There's a few interesting dynamics for me. You mentioned Wood there. Wood's on a really nice run of form, actually. I was thinking back to his fight where he knocked out David Oliver Joyce, forgetting the fact he'd lost on a majority to Dickens after that, but a pretty close one. Didn't let that stop him. Knocked out Reese Mould, and then that Kanzu one, the last one. We didn't know what to expect from Kanzu. Was he that good or not? Wood took full advantage and did a number on him. So he's coming in on a real rich vein of form. This is a long time coming for Conlon. When he turned pro, we were talking about 2-3 weight world champion, unified, undisputed, and he was on a level pegging with Shakur Stevenson. Stevenson, in name at least, is a 2-weight world champion now. So Top Rank have pushed him on a lot further than Mick. For what reason, I don't know. You got the corner dynamic as well, the battle of the bullshitters. You got Bill Cream Ben in one corner. You got Adam Booth in the other corner. So there's going to be a big loss for one of those two coming out of this. As is Booth's techniques and strategy on point for Conlon, or is Davison going to do the business for Wood? So you got that going on. And one thing I will say as well, which I don't know whether people agree with this or not, but it doesn't feel like a world title fight for me, given the two protagonists. Obviously, Conlon's always aspired to world title level, and I know these days you can get world title fights of all kinds of descriptions, but given the belt itself, I love to see people going over and getting the fights, or big champions coming here. It'd be great to see Conlon go over and fight a Stephen Fulton or a Figueroa, or moving up in weights, a Navarrete or something. That would have that big world title fight feel. It's a good fight, and I'm looking forward to it, but it feels like it's called a British Commonwealth European kind of title fight for me, with the title on the line and the two combatants. It doesn't feel like a proper world title fight, funnily enough. It'll feel that to the winner on Saturday night, obviously. No one will give a shit about what I think, but I don't know, just when I think of world titles, you think of the sort of, the Americans and the international fighters, and just doesn't quite have that sort of glitz and glamour to it, but that'll not matter to whoever comes out victorious on Saturday night. I think it'll be a close fight. Don't think it'll be easy whatsoever, but I think Conlon will just scrape it down the cards. And depending on how dominant or he looks, it'll be interesting going forward, because if he kind of labours and doesn't dominate against someone like Lee Wood, it might tell us about Mick's future, even though he's got a world title. Excuse me, people will be looking to pick him off. So there's a lot riding on Saturday night for all people, especially Conlon in his corner. I think this is the destiny fulfilled, really. And he'll not matter whether it's world title or not if he gets that strap. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oz, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Matty. I think it became a lot closer the way Lee Wood just dispatched of Kanzu, really. I mean, it's too easy to say that Zoo wasn't, the fighter that people thought he was, because at the end of the day, Lee Wood was coming off, albeit he beat Reese Mould, in a good British title fight, was hurting that as well. But he was also beaten by Jazza Dickens, and I thought Dickens could have got Wood out of there. But but he bounced back, took that opportunity, and just battered Zoom more than anything. He was a bigger guy. He does hit hard for the weight. Hits extremely hard, but we were saying it before. I think a good boxer will always beat a puncher, and I'm not saying Wood is just a puncher, but I think Conlon probably could have a little bit too much for him. I certainly think it's now closer because of that, but I suspect that Conlon, will have the goods and will probably win, a 116, 112. I think Conlon may have to ride out some tough moments in it as well. I don't think he can risk, taking big shots on the chin because Wood does hit hard. But that's saying, I think, Saturday night will be Michael Conlon's night. I don't recognise either as the world champion. I know Santa Cruz hasn't boxed at that weight for a while, but they are still fighting for the regular title. So it's hard to recognise somebody, albeit when you've got a completely, the super champion just dicks around with the belt and doesn't do anything with it. Until he's stripped and that this belt is upgraded, it is just for a regular title. But I think, no, Conlon should have enough for it. Just a quick comment on the rest of the undercard. It's a shame a couple of fights dropped off this, but I do like the Gary Culley Miguel Vasquez fight. I agree with you, Matty. I think the weigh-in is going to be interesting because I think if Vasquez looks okay at the weight, I think he's got the ability to cause a lot of, well, I say got the ability. Of course he's got the ability, but I still think he's got enough in the tank to cause problems for Gary Culley. I thought Craig Woodruff boxed a decent fight against Culley. It was a lot closer than I thought it'd be, and there was only a couple of rounds in it, and Woodruff definitely had his moments, and Vasquez is levels above Craig Woodruff. He's had notice for it as well. This isn't, just him getting a call 2 weeks prior. So he's had a full camp for it. He's going to be training well. And I think if he looks good at the weight, I wouldn't be shocked to see an upset in this. Vasquez has kept quite active. He should have beaten Lewis Ritson. He got absolutely jobbed against Lewis Ritson. There were two cards that were absolutely horrendous. And he had a couple of fights last year as well. I think the last one was in October time. So I think, I wouldn't be shocked if, Vasquez certainly makes it close, but that is way independent because if he does look gaunt and goosed, I think he could get chinned really because Culley's a freak. How he makes lightweight, I don't know, but talented fighter and has definitely got skills. I've no real care for that Terry Harper fight. We'll just see how she looks because she is coming off a big KO defeat, but she's gone up to lightweight. Kevin Agyarko, they tried to get Hassan and Dam for him, but Dam apparently wanted too much money, which is a shame, really. Agyarko's talented. I really like him. Steve will know a lot more about him than I do, but from what I've seen of him as a pro, looks the goods. And then there's a couple of others on the undercard. Sandy Ryan's on there in a big step up, but should win. Tony Bellew managed Thomas Whitaker Hart. Is on the undercard as well. And then Thomas Carty, who I think is a heavyweight, and Nico Levers, who I've never even heard of, but he's making his pro debut there as well. So the card was better. I've seen some people saying it's a fantastic card and it's there's real depth to it. Disagree with that. I think it's okay, but the main event is what everybody will be tuning in for realistically.
And you're taking Conlon points?
Yes, yeah.
All right. Rob, what's your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, I think the legitimacy of the title or whatever is up for debate. I don't think Santa Cruz is going to come back down. So I think he'll, what was his last fight at 140 or something. So I think depending on who wins this, they'll upgrade it. Whether that means anything or not, I don't know. But I'd say Santa Cruz is permanently out of the division. I think the pressure's on Conlon more than Lee Wood because Lee Wood's already had his moment against Kanzu, and Kanzu was being touted, as he came through, he was heavily touted. A lot of rave reviews about some of his performances, so that was a big win for him. But I think Mick will box the ears off Lee Wood, and I might get pelters for this because I'm biased in this one, but I think he might even stop him down the stretch. And the only spooky thing I see happening for Conlon in this fight is like his brother, even though he's the superior boxer, he does like a scrap sometimes. So against the Russian kid, I said Russian again, fuck it. He hung in the pocket a little bit at times when he didn't need to. He's done that a little bit in his career and in his fights in the States when he just looks a bit ragged when he does that. So if he does that with Wood, he might come a cropper, but I think he'll take it down the stretch. So a wide win for Conlon, but I'm going to go with the stoppage. Fuck it.
Rob is on the record with Conlon by stoppage. Let's see how that goes. All right. Andy, your thoughts on this one?
Sorry, mate, I had some situation to deal with there. I'm not too sure actually about this one. For some odd reason, I've been thinking that Lee Wood might knock Conlon out, but I think maybe Conlon could maybe fight up to the occasion. I think maybe times that he gets kind of maybe switches off and maybe gets bored or whatever and that. He's certainly maybe not got the power as such to give Wood, problems for maybe backing off. But I can either see Wood by knockout. But then if he doesn't get the knockout and it's the closest fight, I'm not too sure, mate. To be honest with you, I'm gonna go on the way off base. I'm going to say Wood knocks him. I'm going to say Wood by stoppage.
Wood.
I don't know why.
Ooh.
I don't know why. It's just something. It's just sitting with me for some reason. It's just this gut instinct. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Andy, maybe my prediction might finally come true. Jamie was always a cutter, and I always thought Mick would be a cutter, but I don't think he's been cut yet. But maybe
yeah, but he swells though as well, does he not? Eh?
Uh-huh.
He's not got some. I don't think he's got hand problems and that, but it's obviously the situation, the power, and that as well. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. I think Lee Wood possibly by stoppage. I know he's had his problems in that like Dickens, for example. I think he even stopped earlier in his career and that, but beating Kanzu was an okay win. And Conlon, it's like one of them. It's how can I put it? It's just one of those type of careers and that. Whereas it's so much flatter to the sea, but I just haven't really kind of like been pulled in. Nothing really kind of keeps me kind of like on my seat or keeps me kind of dialed in and such. And I'm not doubting his ability. For example, he's a good boxer and that. But I just think at the end of the day, I think the power could also come down to the fact that he could actually just take Wood's power out of the equation here, box and move, and maybe get a boring decision as such. But I think at some point, considering how things have been going between both camps, there's been a lot of kind of beef going back and forward, a bit of verbals. I just wonder if it might just come down to at some point a bit of a shootout, and if Wood can maybe just catch him, and we'll see what happens for there and that. But at the minute, I think Wood could possibly kind of get him late. Barring that, it's one of those ones you've either got Wood by stoppage or Conlon by points, to be honest with you, but I'm going to go with Wood. Matthew?
I'm with you there. So Andy taking Lee Wood by knockout. I'm going to join Stephen Oz on the Conlon points, actually, though. I think because the reason I think that to win, Wood has to knock him out. I don't think a points victory is on the table.
He is fighting at home, remember?
Yeah, he is at home. That's God damn it. I'm going Conlon points. I'm sticking with it. So, all right. So we got.
Hang on the undercard, Matty. Just one quick one.
Sure.
Sandy Ryan is going back to the Falklands, Part 2. She's fighting Erika Annabella Farias, La Pantera, another Argentine opponent. So expect some shenanigans at the weigh-in. Maybe she can have a bit of Argentine beef.
Aye, this is for the Belgrano bitches. Rob, what was your pick for this fight? I never heard it.
Conlon by stoppage.
Even Conlon, wait, really?
No, I think it'll be wide for Mick. I don't think he's going to struggle with Lee Wood. Like I said, the only thing I see something spooky happening is if he hangs in the pocket a bit, because Wood could definitely punch. Like maybe if he got caught and he didn't know how to react, you could see maybe Wood forcing a stoppage. But other than that, I think he's going to just ping his head off and then maybe wear him down or cut him or something to stop him later on. I'm going to go with the stoppage for the crack. Why not?
Fucking A. I like it. You got to do something to separate yourself, right? So, yeah, so we got 4 in.
And the fact boxer size Ben, like, what's he going to tell Lee Wood, like, to adjust? Do you know what I mean?
No, all he's got to tell Lee Wood, mate, just watch his tape. That's what you got to do.
He's going to tell him when to take a throw in, you spin around the back. Take a good first touch. From the start.
Well, so we got 4 for
championship quality now, championship caliber. You know how it goes.
This is championship mentality, man. That's what you need.
Because we know that all winners don't like going for the knockout. They prefer to fight like pussies, right? So, anyways, looking forward to that one. There's not a lot going on. The week afterwards going to be a little bit light too. I think we had the week after that, you're going to have Virgil Ortiz against McKinson, which I think that's kind of interesting fight in its own way. But that's all we got for this week. So I'm going to hand it over to Steve for the Belly of the Week.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Episode 464, Belly of the Weeks. Matty's here, as you just heard. Andy, Ozzy, Rob, and me, Steve, leading us in this week. Then, what should we go for? Bit of Frank Warren, I think, making his feelings known on Michael Jackson, of all people. Let's play that again.
Michael Jackson wanted to see, like Naz, he came into New York to come and see Naz, wanted to see him train. Naz said to me, come over and see Michael. I said, I'm not going anywhere near him. He said, what do you mean? I said, you know what I mean. He's not like that. I said, well, why did he give that fella $30 million to settle then if he's not doing that? I said, the nonce.
Trying to fucking talk to me. I said, beat it.
Uncle Frank has gone big dog these days. Eh? He's fucking winning.
He's winning, man, isn't he?
He's
winning
Chocolatito. He's winning
back
first
from the
bids.
dead, man.
He's signing fucking top rank contenders like Jeremiah's points that I actually totally forgot about.
He's
when you go, mate.
Then verbal jousts online by wide margins at the moment. Evening Edge, wide on the cards it is for Frank at the moment, is this? Kind of 118, 110.
Evening Edge.
Adelaide Bird, he's going in.
Evening Edge.
Edward.
Good old Frank. First one flying in here is from Mick Shenzi. Betfred were giving their predictions, etc. Anthony Crawler said, hindsight a great thing, but sometimes we make bad calls. I'm a huge Chocolatito fan, just thought he can't go on forever, even though Martinez nowhere near his skill level. Just felt the power and relentlessness of Martinez could cause problems. Chocolatito took him to school. Crawler picking beforehand Martinez to beat Roman Gonzalez. Liam Beefy Smith jumped in and said this was nearly as bad as when you said Willie Casey was going to beat Rigonda.
Beefy, a lot of people today. I think he's a wee bit more legitimate as well.
See if Paddy Cronin's seen that tweet though.
There was a lot of money flying in on Willie beforehand, Rob.
Big Willie style.
Big bang.
Big Willie style. Big Willie's out. Here's the main man, Eddie Hearn. Boxing's greatest love story. Matthew Boxing.
Find you a man who hugs you. Hugs you like fucking Eddie Hearn.
And it feels so good.
I'm guaranteeing you right now, by the way, that picture is going to end up on Eddie Hearn's mantelpiece by tomorrow morning.
Well, he'll send it to you if you can't stop thinking about him. Get a life. He'll send you a photo of himself. That's what he said he'll do for the Furies. Send him a photo because he's in their head so much. He's busy doing canal. You could have fun with that, couldn't you? That picture there, especially for you.
Little Canelo cave, isn't it? Like an Ebony Bridges cave he's got there in Brentwood.
Look at the fucking Bad Boys for Life handshake and all as well. Oh my god, fucking the Blazer. What's with the Blazer? Even the Blazer squad. Fucking hell.
Yeah. And he tries to go up as a canteen for going from behind them.
Look at the joy on their faces. I mean, it's palpable. It's really lovely. It's like that old Buck Owens song "Together Again." It's just gorgeous.
Good old Eddie.
It's like the worst. It's like the fucking poster for the worst buddy movie of all time, isn't it? Look at
it. Certainly no Mel Gibson and fucking Danny Glover anyway. Tell you that.
No, it's more like fucking Mark Wahlberg and a fucking animated bear. Looks a bit like.
Oh dear. Here he is, the main man, AJ. Woo! People going back and forwards on old AJ, but G-Main07 has his own take. He said AJ just needs to watch Prime Tyson highlight reels and he'll know what to do.
Exactly.
In the Usyk rematch, he's 10 times the physical force that Mike was. He needs to start acting like it. If he does, he'll KO Usyk inside 3 rounds.
Exactly. Fucking get more like Prime Mike Tyson. That's what you need to do, man. Fucking, you know what I mean? Roll your neck on the carpet. Date Robin Givens. Do whatever it takes.
Fucking 50-year-old Mike still fucking cranks his hips fucking harder than fucking Joshua does. He can still turn to the left faster than that fuck ever has.
Facts only. Brutal Mente on Esto there from Maddie.
Chris Johnson.
Speaking of which,
other people are throwing in this one. I'm not sure how legitimate it is, but let's go for it anyway. If you're going to call yourself BJ, then you will arouse some suspicion when you waddle into A&E at 4 a.m. complaining a dog bit your penis. That was the pickle BJ Flores found himself in this week. The retired cruiserweight who coaches caffeinated YouTube moron Jake Paul, I don't know who wrote this, spent the night in hospital after his American bulldog, Rob, bit a chunk out of his knob.
But I'll tell you what.
What?
It's a very appropriate name.
If you talk to Joe Gallagher here, by the way, what the fuck's going on?
It's a very appropriate name and situation because the BJs are going to be a bit rough in his house going forward. Holy shit. Dog bit his knob off. Well, look, belly of the week, here we are. You know what I mean? I remember he was fucking talking shit on Facebook one time. Actually, the dog probably fucking onto something there. I don't know. Like, don't put that dog down anyway.
That's what he gets for shit on Chocolatito and all those lower weight classy fighters and that. So that's what you get. You get bit in the cock with a fucking small dog. That's what happens.
Now your dick's the size of those small fighters. No,
what he said to the surgeons, he said, sew back on a bigger one so I can make bridger weight. Trying to get this WBC strap, baby. Strap season.
It's all an excuse to get testosterone prescribed to him.
If you continue the article, which is a Daily Sport levels, BJ said, could have been bad. Just the shaft head, a little scratched up. Little fucker grabbed onto the shaft, the 43-year-old later explained from his hospital bed, conveniently withholding any details on how his naked penis ended up within biting distance of a 40-kilogram canine. For now, all we can tell you is both knob and dog are healthy and recovering at home after what doctors described as a penile laceration caused by a dog bite. A quick visit from the animal welfare cops might not be a bad idea, though, just to check.
Where did the dog bite BJ Flores on his body? Shaft.
Do you think he was just like cock slapping the dog as a training tool or something, and it just like nabbed it like, no, I don't know.
You damn right.
Oh dear, in the dog pound for BJ Flores.
Jesus fuck.
Terry Woodfine asking the question that we all want to know. Does anyone really listen to a word Eddie says anymore? William the Kid 29 says, yeah, I do believe him as it goes. The only one out there that is doing interviews off the cuff with no notes. Where are you putting your trust? I couldn't name any established promoters I would trust over Eddie. Oh dear.
Evening, Ed.
Evening, Edward.
I think that statement is besmirching the good name of Bitcoin Rodney.
I haven't heard from Bitcoin in a while, Matty. What's he up to these days? Any updates?
He's probably putting together another fine card and doing it in between the lines to make sure everything is legit.
He's after getting his funds frozen.
Is he Russian as well, is he?
I'm going to need to put the lead on the dog now. I feel a bit nervous after that BJ Flores story.
Just keep your knob locked away, mate. Knob and dog will be fine.
Guillermo Quitondo announced me to this one. Barzeni said, Eddie Hearn, I still want to see Special K Brook versus Jesse Vargas at Super Welterweight. 6 years. I've been waiting patiently for this fight. When will Matchroom get it done? Another true 50-50. Make it happen, Matchroom Boxing. Guillermo says this guy's been waiting 6 years.
Him and Jesse Vargas have been both waiting for that. Two on the edge of their seats.
Who the fuck actually dreams of these fights?
Oh, mate. You didn't want to know.
What kind of fucking loser are you that you think fights like this?
I don't know. Losers like this, Andy. You sent this one in to me earlier. What the hell's going on here?
Hey, that's nothing like the one that Ozzy shared in the WhatsApp chat a couple of years ago. What was that guy? It was £400, man.
Ozzy's number one fat shamer on the show, isn't he? We're not as bad as Ozzy. He really just can't take it at all. Look at the size of this guy.
I was going to say, I wouldn't mind. I'm not exactly in any great shape myself, but when I see fucking blokes like that, it does make you feel better. But me, look at that gut.
It's hard to go out running in the morning when you wake up in camouflage pants.
Mate, he's probably got the meat sweats. Never mind fucking sweating in the gym.
Who are these, Andy? Who are these two fine athletes?
I don't know, mate.
Any idea?
I need to go. Give me a second. I'll go and check the.
That's not Martinez on the right, is it? I know he missed the weight, but I didn't think it was that bad.
That's Jorge Arce in the background there.
Is it? Right?
I see it. See the middle in the picture.
Yes, that's
Is the guy, Stevie? Is the guy on the right not a relative, like a distant relative of that Dennis Lewandowski, you know, the guy we won about before.
Nah, Aussie, remember the New Zealand guy?
Like
Conrad Lamb, £532.
Yeah.
What?
He was 5'3".
Hayden H-Bomb. What about that guy? Missed weight by 50 pounds, remember?
Yeah, right. Hayden
Bridger
right.
weight. Hayden H-Bomb right.
That's right. Oh my god. There's some crackers flying in tonight. Here's another one. David Diamante, 2022 World Tour starts now. Brian King's not. What's the crack here, Ozzy? Because Ranger Rollins, Juice, is going in on Diamante. I must admit, whenever I first heard the news, I thought he was in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know what David Diamante has taken, because I thought he was pretty much paralysed and had to learn how to use a knife and fork again. You learn how to walk, pretty much do everything again. And 2 months later, he's fucking walking into the ring announcing anybody and everybody. So, yeah, I mean, give me some of what he's taking.
Starting an Unbreakable 3.
I think it's all Jesus, Oz. You just need more Jesus in your life.
And you know what's also miraculous here? His hair survived as well.
It's probably what cushioned the blow.
Yeah. The hair got caught in the back wheel, probably. I don't know what on earth happened.
I don't know, right? But if you see him and Errol Spence hanging around together, you want to just follow the two of them back to see if they got a secret lair somewhere. Fucking mutants or Avengers or something.
I was like Oz there, man. I thought it was like spine damage, and would he ever walk again, let alone work again?
I was the same. Honestly, I was the same. The way the accident got reported is like you have to breathe through a straw and get fed through a tube. It isn't that bad.
He's on the Ingle diet. He just drinks his own sweat, man. He bounced back.
Yeah, you know how the media just makes everything bigger than it actually is. He probably just like ran into his garage on a mini bike.
Anyway, it's good to see him back.
It is.
Back.
Guess who's back?
Back
again.
Brian King's on fire this week. He's pulled out a couple of wrong uns on Twitter. Tom Parry talking about Eddie Hearn. Facts, mate. He's hated by promoters worldwide because he's took boxing to a whole new level. Everyone loves to hate on him, but without what he's done, we would still be watching boxing in school gyms and leisure centres. Darryl agrees, but Eddie Hearn has took boxing to a whole new level.
New spelled K-N-E-W.
Yeah. Whole new level, Matty on the zone.
That the whole new level spelled K-N-E-W. Jesus fuck here.
Sounds like a semi-literate social failure, this guy, by the way.
I should get him on with us.
Are we sure this isn't an Isaac Lowe ghost account?
No, it's not
Isaac Lowe?
There you go.
Isaac. Hey, Isaac.
Well, funnily enough, Isak has been busy tonight underneath Ben Davidson's post. Trainer of the Year, Fighter of the Year, British Boxing Board Awards. Thank you, James English, with a clap. Isaac Lowe with some fire emojis. Well down, pal.
He's playing up to the Brent fucking image with that fucking jacket on, isn't he? He's taking the piss, Ben Davison there, isn't he? Like, that's unrivaled work.
Why has he got the headband on at that award ceremony?
I don't know, man. He took it off to watch. It was getting in his eyes. He was watching some tape.
I thought he would. It looks like he's going to do magic. Is he, Paul Daniels tribute act or something like that?
Well, his career could disappear just like that.
Another terrible decision from the British board to make him the trainer of the year.
They made music fight overseas fighter of the year. Actually, I see.
His glass was the most full of water at the end of it. They just gave it to him.
Oh dear. Right, what else have we got here? Oscar De La Hoya back on the gear. Toby nominated him 3 to 4 years down the road. Garcia Canelo at 165. You just never know.
I swear, someone asked Canelo this question, or they said, "Did you ask about Oscar's comments?" And he just looked as it says, "You serious, man?" Fucking no chance. But I think Canelo slayed him actually as well for his lack of work ethic. I think as well, do they know? So.
Oh, has he? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, because they're in the same camp, aren't they?
Oh, they were. First Joe Goosen.
First Manuel Tago, then serious depression, and then Canelo. It's the 3-step plan.
Oh, is Garcia with Goosen now? I didn't even spot that.
I've seen a video of Goosen.
Canelo,
full denim, by the way.
The Canadian
Canelo threw him under the bus, didn't he? After he left, he said like, "You don't come to the gym and all. He only comes for 40 minutes, and then he goes home." And then he was blaming Reneso, saying Reneso only comes for 40 minutes. It was all fucking brutal mente on Esto.
Oh, it's all going, man.
Crying Garcia.
But we kind of called it. Because Canelo was hinting at it for months, wasn't he? Like they were all wishing Garcia well. He was like, "Yeah, well, I haven't seen him, like, so I can't." You know what I mean? I'm in here training. I don't know where the fuck he is, like.
Well, hopefully things work out for old Ryan. Things are working out well for Bellew. Team Grows nominated him. Bellew of the week. Povetkin has never iced anyone with one shot other than White, according to Tony, who was praising Andy Canelo during this week. Oh, he's amazing, isn't he? Last I heard, Tony was shitting on Canelo. Man, make up your mind, Tone.
Oh, mate, Povetkin's never iced one shot. It's probably the greatest shot that you've seen in the last 10 years.
What a fucking night that was. Unbelievable.
Mate, I woke up the kids, almost headbutted my desk. It was fucking incredible, mate.
We were all watching that live as well, weren't we?
Exactly,
Bean.
We couldn't even phone each other. I was trying to phone Oz, but he was on the phone to Rob. I was trying to phone Steve, he was on the phone to mine. What's going on?
Great times. Good old Tone. Good old Tone. Michael Benson, Toby, the Motor City Cobra, quite a few boys getting stuck in on this. Anthony Joshua's take on Josh Taylor versus Jack Catchell. Joshua has summed everything up quite concisely here. He says, I'm not a judge, but sometimes I feel the fans judge fights themselves, and it's clear to see who wins, who loses. When the majority are swaying one way, it's important to listen. But what will be done about it? Who knows? Thanks for that, AJ.
It's important to listen. It's important to listen. It's not important to watch rather than listen. Because it's clear that these judges need to watch more rather than fucking listen.
He's been hanging around with eyes that low, hasn't he, I think? Oh, man. He hasn't got a clue. AJ. Well, shortly, Value of the Week for Eddie, spending 20 minutes of his 30-minute IFL interview explaining how Frank is obsessed with him and they should concentrate on promoting fights, all while spending 3 minutes talking about the Gonzalez fight on Fight Week. Hashtag Botox Lego sex doll.
Fucking knob.
Exactly, and then see last night. You even say that Gonzalez was at the peak of his powers. No, Eddie, he's a bit washed, but he's still better than anything else apart from the Estrada at that weight class.
Classic moment, Andy, whenever Eddie tried to bring Yafai in, didn't he, to take the corpse and the name of Gonzalez, and he dished out a beating on him.
He did, mate. He did that, and I feel sorry for Yafai actually because to me at least he's the weight was a bit of an issue for him. He was draining that. I've never seen him since, actually, believe it or not. Has he fought since that fight? I don't think he has, actually.
I'm not sure, to be
There's
honest.
a question for the boys. Go and check that one out.
Question for Boxrec. Go and have a look. Who've we got here? People. Oh, yeah, Kevin Burns sent this one in. Top content from Shite Disciples regarding boxing, says Mr. MG7. Agree with what they said, blah, blah, blah. My idea is to get ex-boxers to judge fights. Carl Frampton, Tony Bellew, to name a few. David Corner, friend of the pod from Boxing First, says Bellew would be as impartial as a mother at Sports Day. Bellew would be a great judge. Reckon Chisora beat Usyk, for fuck's sake.
Jesus Christ almighty. I mean, Shite Disciples, just you mentioned that. It's funny how they mention the DK.
Right, everybody's scared to
the next
mention his name.
DK's coming out and giving interviews to James English. I mean, what the fuck is going on here? I think we're stupid.
Who is this fella that owns this company we work for? Who are a great bunch of lads, by the way. You never heard me say anything bad about
no problem with it, so like they're straight as a die.
I reckon bring him in now. Bring him in. Fuck it. It's all out. Just bring him in. We fucking know what the crack is now. Just fucking bring him in. Forget about it. Bring him in. Because I'm tired of this shit. Like, bring him in. There's greater problems in the world. Just fucking bring him in now. Front fucking, sponsorship opportunities available. Bring him in.
Jimmy Turner has nominated the GAD and all things going on with the British Boxing Board of Control. Talking to the GAD, this was unplanned, but Ebony Bridges has jumped in straight after. Mark's Tibbs Boxing and Ebony Bridges walk into a pie and mash shop. Coming soon. Hashtag Roman Bridges. Looking forward to this one.
That was a riveting conversation.
Bridges and Tibbs in a pie and mash shop in London. Great content.
I was going to say something there.
Go and say it.
It was about gone now. Was it the Phoenix, mate? Was it the Phoenix? Were you going to say something about the Phoenix?
Mate, listen, I'll tell you what, we might see the Phoenix because if fucking Vladimir Putin launches the fucking nuke codes, we're going to see that Phoenix rise from the ashes, baby.
And I honestly got that for a heart.
Guillermo Rigondo has been hospitalised after a pressure cooker exploded in his face. His manager, Alex Bonote, has revealed. Bonote said Rigo currently only has 20% of his vision as a result, but they remain hopeful he can make a full recovery. Everyone wishing him a full recovery, apart from regular pod hater Matti Di Gialanardo, who said the one time he actually needed to move and he stood in the pocket. His legs are clearly shot.
I was going to say just the same. I was going to say you could tell he's watched the pressure cooker wouldn't lay the glove on him.
Absolutely.
We're fucked up, Rob.
You're an absolute ghoul. You're an absolute ghoul, matey. But a savage one at that. I'll applaud that one, mate. Thank you. But it seems
Jazzy Dickens turned the heat up in the cooker as well.
Problem is, did you not have an eye problem before all this fucking shenanigans happened?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Nicotine getting in his fucking eyeballs.
The poor bastard can't catch a break. He's miserable looking at the best of times. Now he's got his face rearranged.
He's gonna have to go back to Cuba just to get medical care.
I tell you what, right?
Straight to jail. Do not pass. Go.
This is the end for Rigo. I don't give a shit what all of his detractors had to say. All of them can fucking do the proverbials. He was some fighter. Unbelievable.
It's just amazing that it was an Instapot that ultimately took him out.
Yeah, by the way, do you think Mark Tibbs remembered that Edward Bridges' name actually if we're sitting down there having some food? Do you think he actually remember? What's my man's name again?
I'm just saying to what do you call it again?
What's my man's name again? What's her name?
Phoenix.
Phoenix? Who's Phoenix? Phoenix Knights?
Well, yeah, Rob, here's one for you. They're all getting on board. They hate the celebrity boxing, but they're all trying to push for it. Paulie, imagine the pay-per-view numbers. Paulie versus Beetlejuice. 4 action-pack fight event.
Well, listen, after 2020 and 2021, nothing in 2022 is going to shock me. And in a way, this is kind of how I thought Paulie would ultimately end up. What do you want to say? What do you want to do with Paulie Malignaggi? I'm fighting the guy off the Howard Stern show. Come on. This guy's disrespected. I'll show you what a real boxer does. Where's your balls, Beetlejuice?
I said his name 3 times in front of the mirror, and here he is fighting.
Yeah. How do you think Beetlejuice? You think Michael Keaton? What the fuck? Who is this guy?
He's the guy that, he's mentally unstable, God help him, and he used to be the co-host of Howard Stern during the fucking pre-cancellation days. You wouldn't get away with it now, but he used to just basically come in and mock his mental illness, and he used to say some fly shit. Beetlejuice is a bit of a pimp with the women and whatnot. He has got a funny little voice. He's not even that real. I don't know. I hope it's someone taking a piss. But if he said something about Malignaggi, I'd say Paulie would take him up on it. You know, that way it doesn't seem to be difficult to get a celebrity fight with Paulie Malignaggi these days.
Boys, this was found in the Boxing Nutters Messenger group available on WhatsApp. But one of the lads, I'm not sure who it was, pointed out an interesting thing here on the poster. What is that coming out of Paulie's back? Some kind of big cock or something.
No, that's Beetlejuice's hands, man. He hasn't got his little hands. He has something. I don't know what the.
But he's got the glove. He's got the right glove, though. He's got the right glove.
He's meant to be the A side of this, by the way. He's called himself Paulie as well.
I think you're overthinking this poster, guys, to be honest with you.
This isn't your man, is it, Rob, who was challenging Conor McGregor with low kicks?
Yeah. It's not
spitting on the lorries and stuff like that,
It's far from the strangest boxing poster we've seen.
It's fucked up, man.
Where do you think the venue is going to be?
Fucking Paulie
Barclays Centre, man. Look.
The big what's that there for?
Fucking Paulie's picking on.
As if they're going to put that. I've been to the Barclays Centre. As if they're going to fucking all that.
Look at the time. June 8th, 9 p.m., 6 p.m. What the fuck's that?
What in the fucking 2008 is this? What's the fucking co-host from Howard Stern work now? On pay-per-view? I don't know. Maybe if it was Joe Rogan or one of these characters, I don't know.
God, how he's fallen. Now he's taking on fucking Q-tip Gump over 12 rounds.
He never got over the Conor McGregor fucking thing, did he? That sent him on a spiral downwards into fucking bare knuckle fight that he lost with Artem Lobev to fucking fellas coming up and slapping him with talcum powder, saying they got your neck, and getting sacked from his job for spitting on fucking and racist shit on.
I'm gonna say, is he spat at Beetlejuice yet, Rob?
Yeah, well, it's coming. I'd say, don't rule it out. You know what I mean? And it's a shame because he is one of the best. Fucking blow by blow fight commentators there is. It's just a pity he's batshit crazy and there's a few screws off the fucking rule. What the fuck? What's that phrase? I thought you said you were all right, Spider.
He developed an intense hatred for black people after Adrian Broner stole his side piece.
You don't get laid. That was funny, wasn't it? He slated Al Heyman after the fight, said all the judges were Al Heyman judges and it's clear as day they're in his pocket, and then he signed with Al Heyman.
Yeah, I need these Al Heyman judges.
That's what I'm saying. Bring him in.
Actually, You mentioned the Barclays Centre there. I was at the Barclays Centre once for Frampton Santa Cruz. I think it was the first fight. Paulie Malignaggi was on the undercard fighting against Gabe Bracero. Afterwards, Paulie rocks up to the press conference, big pair of sunglasses on. A guy dressed as Colonel Gaddafi for some reason asks him a question, and Paulie's like, "You got stuck straight in there, my man. I like that." He's quite the character, is Paulie. He's quite the character, but yeah. I don't think he's going to be fighting Beetlejuice anytime soon. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. That was just John Chua, by the way, just letting you know. John Chua, 26 fights. Quite the fighter. Andy, you sent this one to me. I've only cut it, haven't had an in-depth look. What the hell is going on here?
So basically, AB, our boy, he's gone off on one, so he's just saying, bitch, you better shut up before I tell you, everybody, that you're a 5. If you see the number 5, that's been ripped out like a fireplace. So,
sake.
I thought he was doing plastic cast of all the hoes he slept with. I didn't know what the fuck was going on there.
I thought it was made by the same fella that did the Adrian Broner coin a couple of months back. He's the same sculptor involved.
Oh, God.
Some man, ABA. I listen, you talk about Probellum being a problem, by the way. Fucking hell, that's
not me, anyway. Must have been you. I didn't say that.
Oh, I don't know.
Great bunch of lads.
And for all the female listeners who might be offended by this, I just want to say that all vaginas are beautiful. So don't feel bad about yours. Share it with the world. Share it with me.
Man. I don't know, man. That number 5 looks wide as a Clyde, that one.
The number 5?
Aye.
I don't know. That might be after a surgery or something, or after VJ's dog gets a hold of their cooter.
Mate,
it has its own box wreck, that one.
Mate, if you go down to number 5 and say to yourself, let's just go down and have a look at it, or actually echo back to you, let's have a look at it, look at it, look at it, look at it.
Jesus Christ.
I think I'll take that one off the screen, man. Trying to make me feel a bit ill.
You act like there's no value to that woman. But
absolutely not.
As a golfer, I could use somebody like that standing with their legs spread in the breeze so I know what direction to aim. You know, it's like throwing the grass in the air doesn't quite cover it. I need some flaps in the wind.
Fuck's sake, who fucking noticed?
Oh dear.
Let's
move on quickly. Right, Andy, that's all the ones that I've got. Have you got any nominations? Episode 464.
Yes, I do, mate. Give me a quick second. Well, Connor Ben is exploring his options, saying that Kell Brook is demanding a large sum of money, so that fight's not going to happen.
Oh, fight for you, baby. There's a big shock now. Eubank not going to end up in a big fight.
Exactly. Brooks don't want to do business with Eddie after Eddie fucked him off over the Crawford deal, I suppose.
He's that Ben Shalom.
Yeah, exactly.
He's that guy, Ben Shalom. He's a good guy.
Good man. One for, I forget his first name, but that Markowitz that works with DAZN or owns DAZN on pay-per-view, saying as we're humble, we're honest enough to admit we got it wrong. Pay-per-view is here. And he says, I'm happy to have a conversation hand on heart with anyone in the market about, you know what, the value we offer to boxing fans is relative to our competitors. We are absolutely best in class at that. We will continue to do our best, despite occasionally sparingly using pay-per-view to commercialise our fights. I'd be insincere if I said, you know what, we were only joking about that. We weren't. We believed it at the time.
I just hope I get a discount because I'm a subscriber.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, I'm going to come to that shortly. Shortly, actually, on the Canelo Bivol pay-per-view. But did anybody catch the interview on Boxing Social with Anthony Joshua last night? Now, I can only watch 2 minutes of it. I thought it was cringe as fuck. He's talking about. He got asked a question about the Usyk fight, and he says, "Oh, I've had I think it was some like backdoor conversations. Obviously, he doesn't know what's happening, for obvious reasons and that. But it was so much that was pissing me off. He was like shadow box in front of the camera. I'm saying to myself, this cunt's throwing more punches than the fucking camera here they did against the Usyk fight. So I was just like, nah, pish, switch that off. Benavidez. Or as I'm going to start calling him, Bumslayer Vides, actually. This motherfucker's complaining about that Canelo, at the end of the day, we all know is ducking me. He doesn't want to fight him, right? Well, he's just crying like a little bitch, as Gabe would say, because, Canelo didn't choose to sit around and wait for him to fight his latest bum, cherry picking or whatever he had to fucking do. He missed weight, he missed fucking drug tests, that type of thing, gets stripped his belt. So, if you just took care of business, your own personal situation, you might have had the Canelo fight, man. But no, you didn't do that. Now you're fucking crying because you're at the back of the
You're
line.
getting that baby.
You're not getting no baby. You're at the back of the line. You've got no belt. You've got no value. You've got absolutely zero.
No
to
fights for
trade
you,
on.
mate.
Exactly. So
No
you better
fights
go in the
for
zone ASAP.
Andy, I think this is Benavidez right now.
Crying like a little bitch.
Absolutely, mate. I was going to mention Eddie Herman, but I think you already mentioned it about the 30-minute interview. So
Yeah.
I think that's it for me this week, mate.
Lovely job. Matty, anything from you, please?
I have nothing this week, Steve.
Nothing from Matty. Anything from you, Ozzy?
Matty pulling an Oz there.
Yeah, well, it's not for Sonny Edwards, but it's for Sonny Edwards' work, highlighting basically he's just gone off a complete rant, slating Eduardo Hearn.
Yes.
People coming back saying he's the one, and he's coming out basically highlighting, basically saying he's not the promoter people think he is. He's got first-hand experience, his brother, and he's saying that about people always talk about Hearn with Hearn. And Sonny Edwards got more money, I think, to fight Marcel Braithwaite than Charlie Edwards did to fight for his world title. So, go on Sonny Edwards' feed. That probably describes it the best. But that's another nomination for Eddie, who apparently now is only going to allow Sonny Edwards to fight one of his fighters if he signs a long-term deal with him, talking like 5-6 fights. So, so that's not happening.
Can I just add to that, actually? Obviously, Eddie and Sonny were having a back and forward back in January. I think Sonny was mentioned to him on Twitter and that, saying, "Listen, I'll fucking fight Martinez and that. I'll have the unification fight." So Eddie comes back and says he'll be back at flyweight after to unify. The little crazy motherfucker just wants all that Chocolatito smoke, which he got in spades last night. So as they tweeted to Sonny, he says he'll be back at 112 after unify. Obviously, this is after I'm struggling to make the weight. And Sonny says, he came back to me and he says, that was the only reply I've ever had to Eddie Hearn. So, Matt, he actually says as well, here's his response. The only reply Eddie Hearn has ever given me on Twitter was a lie. Matchroom FC and Dazonians. Where's your king at?
Better the Dothraki them, the Dazonians.
Is this your king? Is this your king?
Then the other one was Isaac Lowe for the spelling error, who just he seems to get worse by the week. Well done, pal. Fuck me, like. He's just no like basics, has he?
He's good value though, isn't he? Funny. Right, pretty. Anyway, Rob, have you given us anything yet, Rob?
Oh, I've got a few. Yeah. I've got Big John Fury.
What's the Floyd Mayweather subs this week, mate? You've been
I'm bored of it, man.
Last month or something.
Fury's after disappearing into the metaverse, man, and I can't
Where's
find
the
him back.
Metaskeletons, man?
It's like Space Jam in there, man. There's just coins flying around and fucking Lamborghini fighting on top of fucking buildings. No, I know what's going on with Floyd, but I do know what's going on with the 4-0 Iceman, Eddie Hills. He's doing a bit of body sparring there with Frank Smith. To see that.
About that.
That was released this week for some reason, and he's taken out his frustration on not being able to make big fights on an app on Frank Smith, his little his matchroom buddy, and he said he wants to put it out to show. No, certain people said maybe don't put that out because he drops Frank Smith with a body shot. A guy who he has about 5 stone on and about fucking 7-inch reach on. And poor Frank Smith is not in fighting condition. Got no shots on him. He's getting in there doing it, but he's not in great fighting shape. And he takes a bit of a pounding to the body. No Bruno from Eddie Hearn. So I don't know. Like Eddie says, he's 6'5", 17 stone or something. I'm about 15 stone now, 6'2". I reckon I pinged the head off Eddie Hearn based on that body spar footage. But anyway, even then, so that I thought that was a bit. He's coming across a bit bitter, man. I don't know. Things are going against him. He's not. He was very, very kind of snidey towards a nice guy, Frank Warren. All around nice guy, Frank Warren. He's very snidey towards him. There's no need for that. Like he's saying kind of nasty stuff about him, saying that he's obsessing about him and that he's going to send him and Tyson Fury and John Fury and all them pictures of him so he can hang them in their front room and be thinking about him. And he called like Tyson Fury's sweet cheeks and all. He's kind of a bit bitter, isn't he? Even then. So you know, you wouldn't catch Ben Shalom going on with that kind of capers. He's above all that. Like, and Frank Warren is just telling the truth. Interesting link here between the kind of the back and forth with the Wembley. You're going to sell out Wembley, 90,000 tickets. He does the kind of Geordie Shore liar nose, Pinocchio nose. That's come back and bit him, has he? But now he's crying. He says, no. There is a lot of these tickets sold, but might have mentioned it, a lot of them were StubHub. StubHub used to sponsor Anthony Joshua's shorts, pal. You're not fucking fooling anybody with that one, like. So now he wants to cry about StubHub as well, even though he wants to cry about StubHub. Get a life, me. Don't be fucking bringing up clips about fucking pay-per-view being dead. If you don't, don't buy it if you don't want it. We're doing pay-per-view now. So he's having a bit of a mare lately, and he's coming across really bitter and all this this kind of carry on. I thought Dillian White should get one for not turning up to the press conference. I'm sure he's covered that, but what's going on there? Like, that's couldn't make me care.
What is going on there, Rob?
Like, just stop that. I don't give a fuck. That pantomime of Dillian White at Tyson Fury has been playing out for about 3 years. Litigation, fucking purse splits, Eddie's bid, Frank's bid, the fight's off, the fight's on, step aside, step inside. Fuck off, man. He's not turning up to the press conference. Who gives a fuck, man? This fucking pantomime was played out long enough. Just getting the fucking ring there, the two of them, like, absolute joke. Well, obviously you can't get a ring till the day of the fight, but anyway, there was another one. Oh yeah, Anthony Joshua for his interview with IFL. I thought, actually, you don't want to give him a bit of credit. I think he was on the piss, and he was just fucking being himself, which is mental, man. I don't know who I prefer. Do I prefer PR Robot, Anthony Joshua, or do I prefer this guy? I think I like this guy a bit better. So that was quite interesting. And I think I had another one. Oh yeah, John Fury for confronting 8.5 stone Carl Frampton about saying that he favoured Jake Paul to beat him. I mean, the fight never happened, dude. Like, so, you know what I mean? A few people thought that, but whatever. I thought that was like playing for the cameras a bit. I didn't like it, but I didn't say anything bad about John Fury. You know what I mean? And the fucking, I'm not even going to mention what I was going to mention. As I said, bring him in. That's it.
Well, someone put an interesting theory, which we can discuss maybe when we're not 2.5 hours in a future pod. Dillian White not turning up in case people turned up and put him to the test, if you get what I'm saying. So I thought that was quite an interesting little theory. He's lying low in case he gets test.
Probably just walking the dogs that day or something.
Yeah.
Take the test.
For the fans.
Ozzy, talking of in shape heavyweights, Boxing News are asking the question: if a heavyweight is morbidly obese, why is he also fit to box? This is right up your street, Oz. It's your mate Lewandowski there. He's looking in fine shape.
Mate, look at him. I mean, I think he's at a career high on the scales there. What was it? Something like 380 pounds or something like that. So,
took training camp seriously. You can see Diamante in the background there. Seriously, what is he weighing? See, he's even got the pencil written in there. What is he weighing?
But I'll tell you what, mate. Anthony Joshua proved that muscles don't mean anything when you get banged out and outboxed. Tyson Fury's shown the body shape, and Dennis Lewandowski is clearly trying to mimic it. I mean, look at the fucking size of him. He's huge.
Going back to Beetlejuice, like, you remember the shrunken head part? Like, that dude's head is not, like, proportionate for his fat fucking body. Like, what the fuck?
He's 380 pounds.
It's like a fucking car emblem sitting on top of a semi truck.
Matty Di Giordano is fat shaming.
Hey, I lost 25 pounds. I have the right to fat shame. Now I'm only slightly overweight.
I thought you spent dollars over there rather than pounds.
You're in fine shape, aren't you, Matty? Looking the rice and beans earlier, you said?
Yeah. I'm hanging in between 180 and 185, Steve. I used to be 240 pounds. It's not fun. Bad on the knees.
They were the good gambling days.
The days are gone, Rob. It's been so bad the last 2 months. I can't even afford to buy a bullet and rent a gun to end this shit now.
Right, let's end this shit, shall we, before it gets out of hand. I think that's maybe too late. Right, I know what I'm going for, Matty. I'm going to throw it in straight off the bat. The one I enjoyed the most this week was BJ Flores getting his cock bitten by the dog. Classic article, whoever wrote that, pat on the back. What are you going for, Matty?
Yes, it has to be given to BJ Flores in remembrance of his once fully functioning cock.
Andy, who are you going for?
I'm going for AB because I really want to know what he tweeted to find that picture of they fucking shagged out pussies, by the way. Because
I thought they were pewter earrings at first.
for that,
fucked out looking for a handout.
Exactly. For that reason alone, that's what I'm going for AB. He is. Listen, if he never fights again, I don't care. As long as he's on Instagram or on Twitter, ripping it up, I'm happy. Just don't let me see him fight again. That's all I'm going to say.
Right, 1 for AB, 2 for BJ Flores. Ozzy, who are you going for?
BJ Flores.
Oh, it's 3 for BJ. Looks like it's going to be a clean sweep, apart from Andy's, of course. Rob, who are you going for?
I was going to go maybe AB, but I think he's dropping the ball on the NFT world there. He could merge those two scenarios together, couldn't he? Call up Floyd, big bro, for some advice and start selling number 5 NFTs sponsored by Adrian Broner. I don't know, with a fucking dog face or something with BJ Flores in the background.
Are pussies non-fungible?
Meta fannies.
Meta funds.
No, fucking who are we going for?
BJ Flores, I'm going for.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, if the dog bites your knob off, that's hard to top. Like, from value of the week content. Like, Paulie versus Beetlejuice was up there for me as well, by the way. I don't know what's worse, BJ Flores versus the dog or Paulie versus Beetlejuice. Like, that's anyone can get their knob bit off in each scenario. Who knows? Like,
I think all of them are going to end up with a sore cock when this is finished.
I think so. Anyway,
the
congratulations.
dog is fucking 1-0 now. Roy Jones is going to start training him. It's down in Pensacola, isn't it?
Never be able to leave the grill with hot dogs cooking on it open again.
Congratulations, BJ Flores. BJ is a thing of the past now. You're the Belly of the Week winner for episode 464. Thank you very much, everybody. Back to you, Matty.
Thanks, Steve. That was a good one. I want to wish BJ Flores the best of luck in rehabilitating his cock. We're pulling for you, and if it doesn't work out, maybe
he's
you can
pulling
make.
For it, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you're gonna be pulling on for a while, and maybe you can make a plaster cast of it and use it against the fake Adrian Broner vaginas and simulate what you used to enjoy. We still want you to enjoy life, whether you have a functioning cock or not.
That's John Wayne Bobbitt. Wasn't over for him, so it might not be over for you.
that poor man. God, every man in America woke up the next day like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But anyways, we won't go into that. Don't use your teeth, ladies. Don't use your teeth. Anyway, for the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse, I'd like to thank Steve Wellings.
And gun shield, like the quote.
Rob Kelly, Ozzy Smith. I'm your host, Matt DiGelinardo, and we'll see you back next week for another fun-filled edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. Y'all have a good one.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch.
I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.